So there I was, recording videos on famous VGC matches, and I thought to myself, I have to cover one of the most famous matches of Pokemon of all time, Aaron Zheng versus Ryosuke Kosuge. I actually think that what actually happened was I asked online, I said, hey, I've covered myself and my match versus Seijun's 2014 finals. Who else should I cover? And Aaron Zheng replied, and he said, hey, cover, you have to do the match. And I'm like, okay. So, I think Aaron is also going to cover this match on his channel, so keep an eye out for that, because it'll be probably very interesting to get his perspective on this. But yeah, guys, if you enjoyed this kind of content, I know it's not me playing Pokemon explicitly, but if you like this kind of content, please leave a like and subscribe, and let me know what other matches you want to see down below, or just let me know if you're enjoying this as well, because I do know that this is very kind of intense, very high level for the most part analysis. So yeah, if you enjoyed this content, you want to see more, or you don't want to see more, just let me know down below, because this is newer for me. This is only my fourth time doing this style of video. So anyway, today we're going to be talking about the 2013 semifinals match between Aaron Zheng and Ryosuke Kosuge. Okay, so there's a lot that goes into this match. I've reached out to both Aaron and Ryosuke for their thoughts, recently, their thoughts on the match now, looking back, but I've also managed to find some old content. So the first is that Aaron's 2013 third place report. I found it on Nugget Bridge. Man, rest in peace, Nugget Bridge, dude. Sometimes you don't know how good something is until it's gone. But anyway, Nugget Bridge has some amazing reports on it. And this one is really good. I just read through it before starting to record. Yeah, I won't do highlight all just yet. So basically, Aaron wrote a report. Team reports are not really as common, especially not the style of, like, I think you'll see going through what I mean. But yeah, this style of, like, very in-depth, very, I don't even know how to put it into words, but yeah, just like this is a brilliant report that Aaron wrote when he was 15 years old. So yeah, so let's go through and get some of the backstory on this match before we jump into it. Yeah, so Aaron writes this report. He says, hey everyone, Cybertron, I'm 15 years old from New York, and he's been playing Pokemon since 2005 when Emerald was released, and competing in tournaments in 2008. For those of you who don't know, Aaron has actually been playing VGC longer than I have. I think we're probably two of the oldest people remaining. I know Gabby started, I think, she might have even started in JAA, I think, which is, I believe, is in 2005 as well. But yeah, he started in 2008. Since then, he's won 2 regionals and 2 national titles. I think I talked about this a little bit in my video, video about Brennan, or no, about me, actually. I was talking about me, how Aaron and I won nationals together and won regionals together. And he's qualified for Worlds 5 times in 2013. That's ridiculous, Aaron. maybe he's counting the 2013 auto invite to 2014. That would make sense, but even still, 5 times by the time you're 15 years old is ridiculous. Last month, I went to the 2013 World Championships in Vancouver, Canada, and he finished 3rd, so he does lose here. That's the spoiler. Though I don't think the result is really the surprising thing about this match. If the match itself is surprising, and he was the highest ranked American in the Masters division. He does his report. Basically he writes a lot, and like, I highly encourage you to read this yourself because it's a brilliant report. I'm not going to read this all to you, but let's go through a little bit of his backstory. So, Aaron leaves the senior division in 2013. In 2012, he's a senior. He gets top 8 at Worlds. He wins nationals. He gets first, second, and third at the 3 regionals he attends. He wins nationals. This isn't all 2012. This is just like all his regionals, or all his senior run, and he finishes top 8 at 2012 World Championships, but he's trying to win Worlds. He didn't realize how seriously he played this game until after Philly Regionals late in 2012. He placed his 2nd there in one of the more competitive tournaments in the country. I think this is 2013 CP though. 2013 is the first year where they have championship points. So Aaron goes to his 2nd regional. Actually, I want to talk about this. In 2012 and 2011, my first 2 seasons, the way that you qualified for Worlds was you had to get top 4 at Nationals, or you had to make it through the Last Chance qualifier, which is a very difficult tournament. Best of 3 single elimination, last 4 people qualify for Worlds, that's it. So this is the first year we had championship points. And rather than there being 4 invites, there are actually 12, I believe he says. Top 12 in the country. So 12 invites now would be crazy, but back then it was, that was how things were. So it's actually 3 times as many invites as before. So he goes to Virginia Regionals, and there's when you're in seniors, I think actually not just seniors, when you age up into a division, like when you age up into masters, you age up into seniors. I think people have doubt a lot of the time. Like even if they were very good in the younger division, they'll say, I don't know, maybe this new division is harder because I'm playing with older people. So so Aaron goes to a really stacked tournament, Virginia Regionals, Ray, myself, Matt Coyle, Trista, Rothman, and he goes 5-3. Not bad. But out of the 8 regionals I've attended, I have placed top 4 in 7 of them. So he's gotten 7 out of 8 top 8, or top 4s, which is crazy. He then goes on to win the next regional with the really scary team of a version of Sajin's Nationals winning team. Leipart, Scissor, Thunderous, Cresselia, Terrakion, and Breloom. Excuse me. Gotta sneeze. It's the lights. I didn't sneeze. Okay, we fought it. Okay, so he then goes into Nationals and he finishes top 16 where he loses. I watched this game live. 3 critical hits in 4 turns. Yep. But he qualifies for Worlds, which was his goal. Brendan also does very well, like we talked about in the last video of these, where he gets, I think, first, second. Yeah, winning 2 regionals and placing second and the third. But again, as we talked about, he has his 3rd mediocre Nationals performance in 4 years. And it's the first time in 4 years that neither of them won a free trip to Worlds. So, they made some money from regionals because Brendan won 2 and Aaron won 1, and Brendan got second and as well, and Aaron got second as well. That's a crazy season for the Zheng brothers. So they have enough money to go to Worlds. Let's see. So Aaron says that he wasn't sure, like, he was just trying to qualify at first. However, nobody predicted him to do well. He read players' predictions, and they believe would do well, and nobody thought he would get top 8. So he felt very motivated. Because he wants to prove himself in the Masters division. So he starts building with Brendan, and takes it really seriously. He knows he wants to use Conkeldurr, so that's the first thing that we know about Aaron. He wants to use Conkeldurr on his team. He was using the same team for most of the season, the similar team that he and I used to win Nationals. It was Hitmontop, Cresselia, Thunderous, Garchomp, Tyranitar, and somewhere up here. Hitmontop, Thunderous, Garchomp, Tyranitar, Scissor, right. Cresselia. So he starts off with Conkeldurr, and he takes Cresselia over... he keeps Cresselia, but we used to use Expert Belt Cresselia. Expert Belt Hidden Power Fire Cresselia. And keeps the other 4 Pokemon. I mean, Garchomp becomes Landorus too, but that was obvious. And then, it plays very differently because he has Trick Room, but he has some problems. Scissor is not very good at this point in the season. It was really good at some points, but Conkeldurr's picked up, Heatra's picked up, Intimidate's picked up thanks to Landorus. And Pokemon are bulkier in general, so, like, +2 Steel Gem Bullet Punch could kill Garchomp, but only if it was frail, and people, like... Garchomp wasn't really relevant, but in general, in Worlds, people were in bulkier Pokemon. And yeah, his team was really slow, so Thunderwave and Swagger support, like, Thunderwave can get in your way when you want to use Trick Room, especially old Thunderwave, so, yeah, so Aaron decides that he doesn't need Thunderous anymore. So he drops Scissor for Eruption Heatran, he drops Thunderous for Rotom-wash, he works with Beep Beep Bakar Alarm, and yeah, then we get to see the team itself. So Cresselia has Chesto Berry. It's very interesting. It's a good spread. He EVs to take less damage from Sand Chip. And he has a little bit of defense for... What did he put defense for? He says it here. He has no special attack to Oko Landorus, and then... But I don't know if it's a specific, but yeah, he puts mostly in special defense. He values special defense over physical defense. Makes sense because he has Intimidate and Will-O-Wisp. Yeah, he talks about how Rest is really good here because he can chip things down a lot. Burn used to do 1/8 instead of 1/16 damage, so that's, like, huge, especially with Sand chip as well. Yeah, often with use Burn and Sandstorms to slowly eliminate my opponent's Pokemon, and Cresselia was so bulky back in the day, like, there's nothing really comparable to it in recent formats. It was a Pokemon that just did not die. It was so bulky, so, yeah. So that's Cresselia. Rotom-wash is really cool. He runs a somewhat bulky, but he also has a lot of special attack investment with Will-O-Wisp, Thunderbolt, Hydro Pump, and Light Screen on his Rotom-wash with Citrus Berry. This is before we had all these, like, crazy healing berries, so you have to, for your recovery items, you have to choose, like, certain, like, where you're going to put your Citrus Berry. That was a big question. So he runs Chesto here, Citrus here. We saw Brendan ran Citrus Cresselia and Chesto Rotom, which is interesting. They switched the items. He's his MVP during the tournament. Let's see. It's EV to live, Life Orb, Draco Meteor for Latios, but it can die to Draco Meteor, Draco Meteor, Dragon Gem. Yeah. I don't think he talks about what the special attack is for. Maybe he does. You need Thunderbolt to Oko Tornadus. Sash Landorus, this is before Assault Vest. You could run Scarf as well, but Sash is pretty good because there was a lot of Cresselia with Ice Beam. He runs Rock Slide over Stone Edge. Chople Tyranitar, this is before we had Weakness Policy. Chople Tyranitar was pretty good at One Worlds in 2012. Yeah. Conkeldurr we talked about. He wanted to use Life Orb. Life Orb Hammer Arm with Iron Fist is stupidly powerful. I can't express enough how strong it was for the format. And then Fire Gem Eruption Heatran. He talks about how he almost always led Cresselia Rotom. And then he also has Cresselia Landorus as well, which is a very strong lead. Yeah, I don't want to read all of this just because it's very long, and I don't think I could do it justice kind of skimming through it. So he has a whole team report here. He beats Ben Gold, does he beat Ben Gold? No, he loses Ben Gold, who gets top 4 with Rhydon, which is also cool. And then didn't attend the 2014 World Championships. Wait, hang on, wait a second. He played Flash, who's top 4. I played Flash in top 4 of Worlds the year before and beat him in 2012. He plays this year's top 4 with Ben Gold. He plays Michel, who is a very strong German player who I lost to in 2014, the next year. I don't know who this person is. I'm really sorry. Then he plays, Paris Trap Jordy. I remember watching this game. And then he plays Dim Sun, 2015 National Champion, 2012. 2012 World Champion. Okay, and then in top 8, he plays Luigi, this is the guy with Garchomp and Landorus, and then he plays Ryosuke. This is a crazy schedule, Aaron. What? He top cut with this? That's insane. I'm sorry, that's insane. We're gonna come back to this report because he does have some, after the set, he does have some thoughts against Ryosuke. So we'll talk about that. So that's some of the backstory. The next part of the backstory is I reached out to Aaron and Ryosuke for their thoughts. So we'll talk about Aaron first. So Aaron's thoughts when I asked him were these. He said, hey, I asked him and I had to follow up. He said, yo, sorry, I forgot to respond. Backstory. Pre-World, spent all of July, early August theorying. Felt like Conkeldurr, Heatran, Cresselia was a super solid core. Stumbled upon Rotom W with friends. That's beep beep Bakar alarm. I was testing with, thought it was underrated. Realized that Landorus plus Cresselia and Rotom plus Cresselia were some of those consistent leads in the format and almost always allowed me to set up Trick Room and Sweep while providing an insane amount of support to the rest of the team. Tournament, I lost round 2, so I needed to go 4-0 to make top 8 and managed to pull it off. That's insane. Top 8 was super stressful because I was playing against the same team I had for most of 2012-2013, which is a version of our Nats team from 2012. Hitmontop, T-Tar, Garchomp, Scissor, Thundurus, Cresselia, although he had Lando over top, I believe. Yep. I won game 1 of that, lost game 2, and had a terrible lead of game 3, so I thought my run was over, but I brought it back. I didn't have much time to prep going into Ryosuke set, but his team didn't really have any surprises for the most part. I think right before I started top 4, I found out Brendan had made it to the finals, so I was super happy already at that point. I was also pretty exhausted and had barely eaten going into top 4. I don't remember my actual strat game plan too much, but the one big thing is the turn where he swaggered my Lando, I was also Trick Rooming with Cress. That's what I remember at the moment. I think I'm going to watch it over. I commentated myself to refresh my memory. Also in game 3, I was leading super hard between T-Tar and Lando, but ended up bringing Lando last second, which is not the right call. So let's read Ryosuke's thoughts, and then I want to tell you my thoughts. So I reached out to Ryokon, actually. So Ryosuke is Gabibo on Twitter. I want to give a quick shout out to Ryokon. Ryokon is a player who lived in the US for a while. He lives in Japan now. I think he's back in New York. He's lived in both Japan and the US. He's like one of the nicest guys I've ever met. He's helped me for years, since 2014, I think, with translation help. He's such a nice guy. So I reached out to him. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I said, hey, can you ask Gabibo Ryosuke for his thoughts on his 2013 Worlds match? And, he didn't ask me. He was just like, sure. He said, I don't know. I really like Ryokon. He's super nice. Anyway, so this is what Gabibo, aka Ryosuke, said about. Oh, you can see that. Yeah, you can see the ad there. Said about the match. So he says, my match against Aaron started with a surprise and team preview because I had no prior information on what kind of team he was using. I was very honored that a world-class top player had referenced my team, but at the same time, I was despaired to see rotom-wash shit that gave my team a lot of trouble. Once game 1 started, I realized his Cresselia and Tyranitar spreads were much more powerful than mine, and as the game went on, I honestly thought this would be too difficult to win. However, if there was one way for me to win out, it would be the way I beat Sajin the match before, where I swaggered his Marowak, I saw this one live as well, for the win. So I brought Thundurus to the rest of the games to bring RNG to my favor, and everyone knows what happened after that. Most people know what happened after that. So I tried to research what Team Ryosuke brought. I could only find this is 2013 finals of Japan Nationals, but it was best of 1. So they don't show team preview for some reason. They just show the versus screen. So anyway, the team is the Pokemon I saw for sure are Tyranitar, Conkeldurr, Thundurus and Landorus. So we can assume it was Cresselia and probably either Rotom-wash or Amoonguss. I think both of those would make sense. Yeah. So now let's talk a little bit about World's top 4 in general. In my opinion, one of the hardest matches you can play in Pokemon is World's top 4. The reason for that is that World's top 4 is one of the highest pressure matches you can have in terms of like what's on the line. And the second thing is that you play World's top 4 at the end of either, well, back in the day, at the end of day 1 Swiss, or nowadays day 2 Swiss. It's the, like, so for finals is on its own day, right? Finals, it's, oh, actually, wait, this is different. Wait, was this day, no, wait, hang on a second. We have to go back to the report. Was this Sunday? What did they do this year? Hang on. Yeah, this is okay, so one of my biggest complaints about Pokemon, okay? Pokemon, I know you're listening. Change this. It's stupid. It's so stupid. Back in the day, I'm in boomer mode, okay? This is boomer mode. When I first started playing VGC, they had it right. Here's what we did. Day 1 was the tournament, Saturday. Did it start on Friday? No. Yes? No, Friday was LCQ. Saturday, 6 Swiss rounds. Cut to a top 8. Don't go back to that. That was very bad. You fix that. Day 2 was all of top 8, okay? It wasn't just finals. So, people had time between the 6 intense rounds. 6 rounds of Pokemon is a lot. Nowadays, it's 7 rounds of day 2 Swiss, and day 1 is 9 rounds. You can't expect people to play good Pokemon or their best Pokemon, or I should say it's very difficult to play your best Pokemon after 9 rounds of day 1 Swiss, 7 rounds of day 2 Swiss, and then top 16, top 8, top 4. That's what it is nowadays. So this is a little better. Aaron has played 6 rounds of day 1 Swiss, because there is no day 2 Swiss. He's played 6 rounds. He plays a top 8, and it's a nail biter. Like you see in the report, he thinks he's going to lose. He wins game 1, loses game 2, and messes up the lead game 3. He thinks he's going to lose, but he barely claws it back. So he's on edge, right? And he has almost no time because all of finals is on Sunday. So he has to play top 4 now. What you should do is have top 8 or top 16 start on Sunday. Just start it in the morning before juniors, right? Before finals, right? I don't know. I think that would be so much better for the players. They're not going to change this, and I understand why, but they should. Even though nothing's going to change, I'm saying it anyway. Anyway, so World's top 4 is, in my opinion, one of the hardest matches to play in because you are exhausted. When I played World's top 4 at 2016 Worlds, like right before it, I realized I hadn't eaten all day, and we're talking. I think this is like 7 p.m. and we're talking that we've been going since 8 a.m. Like, you don't have there's no break. There's no lunch break at Worlds. You don't get a lunch break. What are you going to go do? Eat a sandwich? No, there's no lunch break at Worlds. Yeah, and you're not, you're probably too nervous to eat anyway, right? So Aaron hasn't eaten all day. He's been playing a lot of Pokemon, and Pokemon is not a game where this person's like worse than me, so I can take it easy and kind of chill out for this match. No, every match you can lose, especially at Worlds where everyone is like, in the upper echelons of competitive play. So everyone is very good. He's been working hard all day, and he just came off a nail-biter set. And both Ryosuke and Aaron don't have a ton of time to prepare. So it's not like they can be like, okay. So sometimes you're like really nervous, right? When you're playing a set of Pokemon, but it's kind of okay. Like, you can kind of do okay if you are able to like make a game plan before the match so that the first few turns you kind of know roughly what to expect and you've thought about it beforehand, assuming you have information, right? Doesn't sound like, we know for sure that Ryosuke, based on what he said, doesn't have any information. He doesn't even know what team Aaron's running. I don't know if Aaron knows what team Ryosuke is running because it's just a standard, like, it sounds like it's just a standard team from what he expects, but there's no way they had plenty of time. Aaron went to 3 games, so there's just no way that he had plenty of time to, like, make a plan or, like, do his research or anything. So these players basically have just come off very intense top 8 sets. I remember the Ryosuke set. Both of them probably felt like they nearly lost there, or maybe should have lost. Probably should have lost is probably not the right word there, but they were dancing with the end of their tournament. And now they're up against a very good opponent. They're each up against like both of them are national champions. So Ryosuke is the 2013 national champion, so Aaron's worried, and Aaron is 2-time national champion and now is in top 8 and won regionals. So Ryosuke has got to be worried as well. You can see that he respects Aaron from what he says here, where he says, he considers Aaron a world-class top player because Aaron uses a team similar at the very least to the team that Ryosuke ended up using to win nationals. Yeah, and then you get into team preview, and Ryosuke is freaking out because, you know, he sees that Aaron has rotom-wash, which is very difficult for his team to deal with. So, not only is there all this pressure, not only are they fatigued, but they know that one of them gets to move on to the finals of the World Championships, right? And if you get to the finals, you have a break. So this is their last match of the day. They really, like, they've been going all out all day, and they have to do a final push here, sure, but like any energy and any stamina they have left, like, it has to go into this match. But yeah, they have to be exhausted. They've been playing high level Pokemon all day, and they both just came off nail biter sets. And the thing about almost losing the set before this round is it can really, like, that, like, nervousness at least for me, will carry over sometimes, right? And it's kind of hard to shake that feeling of like, oh, I think I'm gonna lose, and then you claw it back. But that feeling of like I'm about to lose can remain. Maybe I'm projecting too much here, but I think most of what I've said is pretty fair, right? They've been playing all day. They're exhausted. They haven't really had time to prepare, it sounds like, and there's a lot of pressure on this match. They both really want to become the world champion. So let's go ahead and watch this match. This might be too loud. I'm just gonna go preemptively and turn this down. This is a long match as well. Scott and Evan, our buddies, are returning.
Welcome back to the 2013 Pokemon Video Game World Championships.
Last time I realized I was talking over the commentators. I got a lot of people saying that was not helpful for them, so this time we're going to be pausing it.
Here in beautiful Vancouver, Canada.
Turn this up a little.
We just saw a fantastic best-of-3 set between Seijin Park and Ryosuke Kosuge.
Ooh.
And
wait, I didn't realize that was. We should watch that at some point. If you want, we don't. I mean, I want to watch it, but if you guys don't want to watch it, then we could watch something else. Like we could watch It's Always Sunny in Wolfendelphia.
Ryosuke, the winner of that match, once more in this next matchup here. But first, let's take a quick.
Sorry, quick note. This is gonna be a lot of pauses. Ryosuke was just on stream, and that's additional pressure. He might also feel guilty because he definitely swaggered Sage's Marowak. Why don't we do a quick mechanics refresh? Let's talk about old mechanics before they were better. Quick question number 1. How does Thunder Wave work? Can you Thunder Wave electric type Pokemon? Ding 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 ding. Answer, yes you can. Anything can be Thunder Waved except for ground type Pokemon and Pokemon with Lightning Rod. Question number 2. What is Swagger's accuracy? Answer, 90%. Swagger has a 90% accuracy rate. Question number 3. What is the probability that Confusion will activate? 50%. And question number 4. What is Will-O-Wisp's accuracy? Answer, 75%. Now, I don't want to give any spoilers for this match, so we're just going to continue, but I want you to keep those facts in mind that the probabilities are way more dangerous to play with. Oh, and Thunder Wave never misses as well. And at 1/4 speed. Quarter speed.
Quick look at how the brackets stand right now. As we just saw, Ryosuke Kosuge did defeat Seijin Park, advancing to the final.
I forgot Anosh top cut this year. Let's go Anosh.
Or here, with Aaron Zheng from the United States of America defeating Luigi Logiodici and moving on to the
Let's
final
go, Evan.
four as well.
What pronunciation?
On the other side of the bracket, we have Arash Omari.
All right, we're gonna skip. This is a long match.
Ryosuke, which of it
Whatever. Watch it.
Aaron Zheng,
places now.
player in the top cut, to advance to the top 4.
I changed my mind.
And at the bottom of the bracket there, Benjamin Gould did defeat Enosh Shachar from the United.
Is it Shachar? Enosh, if you're watching this, you let me know. And is it Enosh? Have I been saying it wrong? I've been saying Enosh Shachar. Have I been saying it wrong? Oh man, I've known Enosh since I started. Hopefully I'm not wrong.
To move on. A fully international top 4 here.
Ah!
Yeah,
What did I do?
Cool. We've seen in the past of United States and Japan in particular have done really well. So it's cool. There's a lot of more variety this year. It shows how much the game is growing.
Sorry, there's going to be a lot of pauses. This is going to be a long video. In part because this is the first best of 3 that went to game 3, I think, that we've covered. Back in the day, in part because of poor qualification system in Europe, the 2 strong regions felt like the US and Japan. And this is no longer true, I'm going to say, but It felt like, because, okay, 2008 and 2009, Japan, I didn't play back then, but my understanding is 2008 and 2009, Japan dominated. 2010, Japan was still very strong, and it felt like they were like way above everybody else, but Ray won the World Championships that year. In 2011, Japan did not compete at the World Championships because of a natural disaster, and so Ray won the World Championships again, and then in 2012, finalists were me and Ray, both from the US, and the top 4 was a US player and a Spanish player. People also used to rag on Europe a lot. People used to like, I don't know, like kind of be rude about European players and act like they were like not as good. And so a European player had never won Worlds. There was a period where I think a German player had never top cut Worlds before this, I think. I think it was a German player who had never gone positive. I don't know. I might be making stuff up. I remember because I was like best friends with Marcus, and so the fact that I remember that was like a goal of his. Yeah. But anyway, so Arash's story is a whole different story, where it's the first time a European wins the World Championships, and that was a big deal for our community. But Evan and Scott are telling the narrative of the time, which is that the US versus Japan is a big storyline in the community right now. It feels like these are the two regions that are the strongest. They aren't necessarily the strongest. I'm not saying they are, but that's kind of what it felt like at the time. And that, especially in terms of World Championship victories, they were the only regions to have won the World Championships. And now you might notice we have an American player against a Japanese player. So, yeah.
It's a lot of really good players from a lot of different places now.
Yeah, and both of those matches, I should say, both are going to be spectacular with a lot of fireworks here. We are going to be watching Aaron Zheng versus Ryosuke Kosuge up on the main stage once more, but I will be very interested in how the other match goes as
7
well.
minutes?
Yeah, I will too. We didn't get a chance to watch them too much during the Swiss stages, so I don't know exactly what they're running, but it must be some pretty creative stuff to have gotten this far in the tournament. So whichever of them makes it to the final.
I like that because like Arash's team was really cool and Ben Gold's team is really cool, but I feel like both Aaron and Ryosuke are mostly standard teams, but they also have some really smart innovations. But it's funny.
Put on a really great show. And this one we've got Aaron Zheng too, who I think is a really interesting player.
Oh, he was referencing the other match.
The past 2 years, when he was in seniors, he was the national champion of the United States, and he had really big expectations in Worlds, and he had trouble fulfilling them. So it's kind of funny that this year, the 1 year that he didn't have all that pressure on him, he's made it farther than he's ever gotten, making into the top cut and now into the top 4.
But I think that's a really good point from Scott. Is that, yeah, like Aaron won nationals twice, and his best finish, I think he missed top cut in 2011, and then he did get top 8 at 2012. But now he doesn't win nationals for the first year, and he's in theory in a harder division. And now he's in top 4. He's looking like he could take the whole thing.
Whereas before, when we're like, oh sure, Aaron's got a great chance of being the world champion, and he wasn't quite able to make it quite as far as maybe he could have. So it's really interesting to see him starting to fulfill that potential that I think everyone always saw in him, and he's going to have a really challenging opponent here in Ryosuke, who put on a great show in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to this match.
I like to watch the pre-match commentary because they do a good job of, first of all, sometimes they'll remind me of stuff, and second of all, they do a good job of telling the storylines of stuff. So if you guys don't want to see the pre-match stuff, that's fine. You can let me know and we can skip it next time. But for now, I like to watch it because I think it's good.
Quite a bit.
Also, I don't care how long the video is. If it's going to be an hour and a half, it's going to be an hour and a half.
As you mentioned, Aaron has had so much pressure put on him to perform in seniors. But his first year in Masters, he had a bit of a rocky regular season, but he's definitely brought it now that he's here.
Wasn't that rocky? He got first at a regional, he got second at a regional, he got top 16 at nationals. It's not bad. That's pretty good.
Playoffs and the big stage.
He qualified, which is a big deal.
Top 4 Worlds, pretty good for your first year at a Master.
Yeah, he's the farthest a graduating senior's ever gone.
Oh.
Seijin Park, who we just saw.
That's very interesting. Yeah, because Seijin lost to me in 2012. That match is recorded. One of those games is recorded. Yeah. Sorry, Seijin.
Made it into the top cut of Masters in his first year as well, and ended up losing in the round of 8 to Wolf Glick. So Aaron's treading new ground here, making it to the top 4 in spite of how young he is. And I think it's a testament to the talent of these players. It's tough to go up against other players who might have a lot more experience than you do. It matters when you've had more years playing against older competition who might be a little bit more experienced. You might learn more about the metagame, or they might have slightly more difficult past tournament experiences that have molded them into better players. So it's hard to catch up. But just like Seijin, Aaron's been able to do it now, and it'll be really interesting to see everything he's learned here getting combined into his top cut performance.
I think
this really kind of for me drives home the fact we talked about it a bit in Seijin's video, of him winning Worlds, but the fact that Seijin got top 8 twice in a row, once to me and once to the 2 second places actually, Ryosuke who gets second this year and me who gets second in 2012. Yeah, so he top cuts for 4 consecutive years, and the 4th time he wins Worlds. That's crazy.
I think that's one of the more interesting storylines we've seen develop around, it didn't always used to be juniors, seniors, and masters, but separating out the seniors group allowed these raw, talented players to not have to necessarily go out into the shark's den of a masters tournament with people.
There used to be only 2 divisions. That's what he's referencing. There was only juniors and seniors. I think it was 10 and under and then 11 and up, I think.
With people like Ray Riz.
That's before my time. Don't quote me on that. That's just what I think.
So or Wolf Glick in America, and trainers like Ryosuke in Japan. But they've had a chance now to play.
Somebody asked me how I did at this tournament. Oh, actually... wait, hang on. We're gonna do this in a second. 2013 Pokemon World Championship Masters standings, Nugget Bridge. Please, 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 please. Okay, we're gonna come back to this one later. Just so I don't forget.
Play and practice at the highest level, and you can see how as soon as they graduate from seniors, they're ready to play on the national level, on the world level, in these important tournaments.
Yeah, a lot of the younger players have been really good too. Some of Aaron's classmates when he was in seniors did really well as well. Inas Shachar is a year older than him, but he made it to the top cut of Masters this year and lost in the quarterfinals. And then he played Toller Webb, who's the defending senior champion in the last round of Swiss, with the winner of that match moving on into that top cut spot that Aaron now occupies. So a lot of the younger guys are doing really well, and I think it's really great for the game. A little biased as one of the older guys, but
putting a lot of pressure on us old fogies. Yeah.
And deservedly so. I mean, they're pushing us out, and they deserve the spots they're getting. I'm really proud of them, and they've been really great players. So it should
this
be
is
cool
wholesome.
to
Let's
see
go,
what
Scott.
Aaron can do here. I know he's been dreaming of this moment for a long time, so it should be a good match here. He's been planning this one for.
We're gonna jump a little bit because I have a feeling it's gonna be a lot.
Even though he hasn't made it quite to
Agent Park or another
look at how
player,
cute Aaron is. Look at
Aaron's
Aaron's appreciation.
So
hey, I don't know what this is because I don't understand K-pop stans. I'm not bashing on K-pop stans. I just don't understand you. But I see them always in their replies of tweets, and they have like pictures, like moving images, which I guess is a video of the people they stan. I don't understand this dancing, but how come I haven't seen one of these for Aaron Zheng? Where's my Aaron Zheng? I think it's a
local flavor helps him out here. Or
where's my Aaron Zheng fan cam? Look at him.
And there's a shot of Aaron Zheng on your screens right there.
He looks so much younger.
Stars and stripes, representing the United States of America, looking calm and composed as we get ready to head into.
He looks very calm, like actually very calm.
Match. It's the face of a champion.
How young he is. He's a veteran. Even though he doesn't have the great world's resume that some other players might, he is a 2-time national champion. He's been in these moments and he's succeeded.
He's so focused.
He's ready for this.
Yeah, the top 4 of a finals, even though he hasn't made it quite to Worlds, no stranger to him. And as we just saw, Ryosuke Kosuge now on your screen, definitely no stranger to high stakes.
Ryosuke, I feel like doesn't get talked about as much as he should, but we had him on our list of best players of all time. Which I made a little bit, top 10 best players of all time. That's not that old. It's a slightly older video. I did that with Trey. But yeah, Ryosuke is very good. He gets second this year. He gets top 8 next year. He's one of the few people to top cut multiple world championships, and he won nationals. I'm actually forgetting, but at least this year.
Intense, close matches. Really important to maintain your composure throughout a best of 3, and he has shown that he can do it.
Yeah, I mean, we said that Aaron was clutch based on his nationals performance, but I mean, look at this guy. He too is a national champion, a reigning one, unlike Aaron. And he also won a really, really challenging match against Agent Park here. It's always tough to play against the favorite of a tournament, to get behind.
Oh, the title of Aaron's report, Swagger is not God, is because Swagger is God is an expression I think that comes from this match. I think somebody commented on, there's a couple things, there's a famous, version of this match, which is in Japanese, where the chat would, let people's messages scroll across the chat, across the screen. And one of them, one of the famous ones is Kosuge is bad boy, and the other one is Swagger is God, I think. Or maybe that's just something Ray would say. I think it comes from Japan. I don't remember exactly.
All the pressure in the world's on you. It's easy to get down on yourself and just think there's no way I can dig myself out of this hole. And even in the second game of that series, he was behind, and I was able to come out of this. So it's going to be a really tough challenge for Aaron here.
Yeah, definitely a tough challenge for Aaron and whoever he might fight in the next round.
Oh, getting ahead of ourselves.
Of course, you can see the intensity on both of their faces. As
actually, like, this is kind of stupid, but like I really like how shoot, come on, Wolf, can you be an idiot? I really like how focused both these guys look. Like, you can tell they're so dialed in, which I guess goes a little bit to talking about like what I was talking about before. Like, they don't look nervous. They just look like they're so present, which I really like.
Ryosuke gestures forcefully. The gesture of a champion.
That's some of the fun.
They look a little nervous.
One thing I love about both of these guys, they know how to put on a show. You know, they know that they've got their fans in the audience rooting for them. They're the last hopes for their country. So,
yeah, the last hopes for their country. That's correct. As we have 4 different countries in the finals, the cheers come up, and we're going to go ahead and head right into the game.
I think they're saying "Let's go, Aaron," but I'm not sure.
On the top of your screen, you can see his team: that Tyranitar, that Heatran, that Landorus, that Cresselia, that Thundurus, and that Conkeldurr. Aaron's team that you aren't seeing is going to be Cresselia, rotom-wash, Conkeldurr, Landorus Therian form, Tyranitar, and that's going to be the Heatran.
Something I didn't talk about, but I just realized right now, is this is a mirror match with rotom-wash versus Thundurus. So that's very, very interesting. I have a feeling this was also Ryosuke's Nationals team. I think the 2 Pokemon we didn't see were likely Cresselia and Thundurus.
Yeah, so you may notice
Cresselia
that, it's kind of like looking in a mirror here, too. It's not just the play styles that are similar, but Aaron's team looks like it was influenced a little bit by his...
Wait, okay, let's see what I can name. This is Paul. I think this is... Hui? I think this is... That's Ray, I think. I can't really tell. It's kind of blurry. I can't really tell. Okay.
Opponents here, so kind of an awkward situation.
Hey, guys, you like the chairs? You guys want some chairs? Back in my day, we didn't have chairs for the World Championships. We sat on the floor and we liked it. You can tell that things were very different back in the day, and this isn't even this is like mid-age VGC for me. Like 13 things, like we had a stream. This isn't even back in my day where we didn't have a stream.
Right? The only Pokemon species difference here is that Aaron's using Rotom Washing Machine, whereas Ryosuke was using that Thundurus Encounter.
I really like that he called it Rotom Washing Machine. I would just say, well, I've never called it. I just say Rotom Wash, I think, most of the time, so I very much like this. Okay, match is starting now. We are 36 minutes into our video. I don't know what you expected, but it should be this.
So it'll be interesting to see if either of these Pokemon play a major part in this battle, since that's the most meaningful difference.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, but I missed Gen 5's. Like, I missed this image. Like, the 6 Pokemon and their sprites. In the Gen 5, like, rectangle, like, blue rectangle over black rectangle, like, oh, this brings, like, so many memories for me.
Between their teams. They've made some different choices about, a couple moves and a couple items, but fundamentally the other 5 pieces are the same. It's just a matter of which of the 2 players.
I'm really sorry. But when, like, I have to keep doing this. When people talk about how, like, oh, everyone uses the same Pokemon, which you could say for this match, they have 5 of the same 6 Pokemon, I think you're going to see that how they use that Pokemon, the items and the moves make such a huge difference. Like, these 2 are going to be playing very different game plans.
Players can use them better. But Rotom and Thundurus are the wild cards here because they bring something that the other player can't.
Yeah, definitely interested in seeing how that matchup plays out. We already saw the swagger come out from Thundurus a few times. Of course, that prankster ability, giving the priority to swagger, is a huge deal for Thundurus. It's part
oh boy, here we go.
Strong. Rotom has a whole bunch of other options it can use, but I'm not quite sure. It probably won't be as flashy as a nice swagger battle, but it also provides some nice utility.
This is kind of
too.
foreshadowing.
We'll be very interested to see how these match up as we are headed into our first game of the top 4 of the 2013 Pokemon World Video Game Championships. Ryosuke Kosuge from Japan up against Aaron.
It's weird to see trainers without trainer customization, unless they're mine. But I forgot there wasn't a trainer customization in this game.
United States of America. You can see Ryosuke there at the top of your screen as Aaron sends out his Cresselia and his Rotom to lead the pack. Of course, we have a celebrity in our audience, the Pokestar Studios star coming out for Rotom, as Ryosuke sends out his Cresselia and...
I think this is interesting because these are the 2 leaders that Aaron talked about in his video. Yeah. He talked about that he would either lead Cresselia Rotom most of the time, which he does, or he would lead Cresselia Landorus. So in this position, Ryosuke is going to U-turn into the Cresselia. It's threatened by both these Pokemon, so I think if you're Aaron, you can go for either a Psyshock or a Will-O-Wisp. You can Ice Beam to try and cover it staying in. I'm sure it doesn't stay in. The only question is, do you Will-O-Wisp and potentially let Heatran come in and get a boost, or do you Light Screen? Because the Will-O-Wisp and Hydro Pump are super obvious here, and Ryosuke probably doesn't want to go into Conkeldurr or Tyranitar. There's no guarantee that he has Heatran, though, so I personally would probably maybe Trick Room and Will-O-Wisp here, or Psyshock or Ice Beam and Will-O-Wisp. Or a Light Screen, not Will-O-Wisp, personally. But we'll see what he goes for.
different trainer, different leads.
Yeah, I mean, on the surface here, Aaron's got the better lead matchup because
Also, we talked about in Brendan's report how Cresselia had Sunny Day and Helping Hand to support Heatran, and Aaron's Cresselia doesn't have either of those. It has Rest, Ice Beam, and Psyshock, and Trick Room. So it doesn't have Helping Hand or Sunny Day, so it can't power up the partners.
yeah, Rotom would just love to battle Landorus here, but with that U-turn, it's not too likely it's going to get the chance. I am excited to see Rotom here, though. And Aaron obviously identified, just like we did, that that's the one major difference between their teams. And Rotom's a really cool pick. We mentioned a bit in the opening that what Aaron does, and a lot of players do, is just kind of like put a more local flair on other regions' teams. But
And the first attack of the game
Wow.
is a miss as Stonehenge
Okay.
misses.
Willow's counter. Willow's missing one.
But Rotom's Will-O-Wisp also
They used to do this. Mid-turn, they would cut to the players. I don't want to see the players.
missing. The Cresselia's Ice Beam, however, not going to miss this time. Does get that Ice Beam off onto the Landorus. Oh, the super effective hit. Survives.
Okay, that's
hangs on with the
That's an interesting turn one from Ryosuke. I guess he realizes that this tells Aaron that he doesn't have Heatran in the back because it's a super safe switch into Heatran here. Although you could just get Hydro Pumped, I guess. So maybe I guess you can't infer
thread
that.
because of that Focus Sash.
And Psychic, no Trick Room
And the
comes out.
Cresselia coming out with the Psychic onto the Rotom. Going to deal some good damage there, but not quite activating a Focus Sash.
I mean, they get the attacks in right. Just keep trying, guys. You'll hit sooner or later. I was going to say, though, the Rotom's really interesting to see here just because as far as regional flair.
I'm really surprised by that turn one from Ryosuke. I'm sorry. Yeah, well, I guess he just wanted damage on the Rotom and realized that Landorus wasn't that important in the matchup. Though Landorus could be helpful, or maybe he just realized that he couldn't switch. So though I think a Protect would have been fine there too. But yeah, if Aaron gets a Trick Room up, it could be bad. So I mean,
Rotom
that makes
W
sense
was
actually,
something
but
that was
it's just
really big
not what I
in
was
Aaron's
expecting.
home nationals in the United States. A lot of people used it with that Will-O-Wisp move we just saw to start at countering physical attackers.
If Willows hits there, Aaron's in a much better position.
Special attackers like Dragon types are getting less popular in our region, so it was effective to start countering the physical Pokemon instead. And Rotom is one of the best at doing that. There's a lot of physical Pokemon on both of their teams, I guess, with Tyranitar, Kinkeldor, and Landorus T. So Rotom's probably.
I like that Aaron's taking his time here. I like that he's used 40 seconds. I mean, he's in a good position, but the question is, what does he want to do with Rotom? Most likely, I think that Ryosuke does not have Heatran in the back. I think he probably has Tyranitar. I think both players have Tyranitar and Conkeldurr, if I had to guess. And so, I think realistically, Light Screen is not going to be that good. So you can go for a Hydro Pump, you can go for a Trick Room, you can go for a Will-O-Wisp into the Cresselia. I think Ryosuke wants Trick Room up here at the end, and he wants Rotom gone. So I don't know.
Especially because it's also good against the Fire type Heatran.
Yeah, definitely a good choice there for the Rotom. And
Protect from
that
Landorus.
signifying that it's a little bit more utility-oriented than some of the other ones we've seen.
That's probably another
Landorus
Psychic
is
then.
going to go for that Protect, doesn't want to get burnt by Rotom. And it does.
Okay, Will-O-Wisp into Cresselia, and it misses. That's Aaron has used 2 Will-O-Wisps, and he's missed them both.
The Avoid comes out, so actually not going to be a factor there. Psychic comes out onto the Rotom again. It's going to deal more damage, slowly whittling away that Rotom.
This should be Trick Room.
Citrus Berry.
I think he hard read the
to
Protect.
Cover off a little bit of that damage back.
I think he hard read the Protect.
Bulkier. Going to be okay there.
Ooh, no. Okay, I mean, I like the plays from both players there. Ryosuke going for Psychic, activating Rotom Citrus Berry. He's trying to chip down this Rotom. He's clear he doesn't want to deal with it. And Protect from Landorus. I mean, yeah, it's a super solid play. Aaron from his part, he covers the Landorus protecting by going
Ice
for
Beam comes out from Cresselia.
Yeah, okay, just making sure he covers the Landorus doing anything there, and he goes for a Will-O-Wisp into Cresselia because the chip damage with Tyranitar in the back is going to add up very quickly. Because this is 1/8 burn damage. It's a big deal.
Cresselia, but it's into the Protect.
So Aaron gets no damage off that turn, which is kind of bad. But again, basically it looks like Landorus is going to eventually trade for Rotom here. Is how we're going to end up.
The pitfalls of using Will-O-Wisp there is that it's only 75% accurate, and well, it's not terrible accuracy. 3 and 4 is pretty good. Yeah, we're a little bit spoiled.
Aaron had a 1 in 16 chance to miss both of those, and either of those hitting would have been a big deal. So yeah, I agree with his plays. It's just not paying off.
In the video game, most of our moves are 100% accurate or really close. So Will-O-Wisp, I think, is pretty much the least accurate.
Interesting switch here. This is probably Tyranitar.
Viable move in the game, and Rotom there, just experiencing the.
I really like that. Aaron notices that Ryosuke is trying to get rid of his Rotom really, really a lot. And so what he does is he switches into Tyranitar and probably goes for a Trick Room, expecting a Psychic and a Stone Edge here.
The downside of that.
Just not going to have a fun time with that. Is going to switch out for the Tyranitar. Wants to save that Rotom for later. Not going to get the free KO there. Tyranitar kicks up the Sand Stream. Not going to be bothering that Landorus too much, but Cresselia's, both of them.
Stone Edge, yep.
will be taking a little bit from that. Stone Edge
Should do like
does hit this
35,
time,
40?
comes out, is going to deal the damage to the Tyranitar, not the Rotom, the
30.
intended target. Not as much damage there.
Okay, so he doesn't go for Trick Room, which is interesting. I guess because he knows that Gabibo can just reverse it. And he really needs to, actually, yeah, getting rid of this Landorus is going to be good for his Conkeldurr and
The Ice Beam
presumably
is
his.
going to finally get the KO on that Landorus. And
Presumably good for Conkeldurr and presumably, or good for Tyranitar and presumably the Conkeldurr in the back. Yeah. I wonder if
going to move to a
like both these players are kind of playing a weird game with Trick Room where like I guess they don't know whose Pokemon are slower. So, or maybe they're all speed tying. It's definitely a possibility. If they're all 0 speed, like they could all be speed tying. So it actually makes sense to not go for Trick Room yet, I think, especially because the opponent could just reverse it.
Or a 4-3 lead in this game, as Ryosuke's Cresselia is
Trick Room,
going
okay.
to use the Trick Room, going to twist the dimensions. And
That was a really good play from Aaron there, because if Ryosuke did go for Trick Room and he switched into Tyranitar, then he would actually be in bad shape because he would be staring down this Landorus. I like how Tyranitar is like a bucktooth in this frame. But if Ryosuke goes for an attack, or if Ryosuke goes for Trick Room and Aaron goes for Trick Room, then then Tyranitar's forced to protect this turn. And you know it's still a mind game, and also like Landorus could go for protect the next turn, and Ryosuke could reverse Trick Room, and Aaron would have to make a hard read. So I really like that play
now
from
we
Aaron.
have the speed flipped.
Yeah, kind of an interesting play there. Trick Room,
And the Cresselia are speed tying. They're both mint speed.
changing the speeds, but Aaron's withdrawn his quicker Rotom and replaced it with Tyranitar. So
And this is a good position for Aaron as well, because Ryosuke has nothing he can safely go into. If he goes into Conkeldurr, he's threatened by Cresselia. If he goes and he can't get rid of Cresselia, and if he goes into Tyranitar, we know that Aaron's Tyranitar is Chople Berry, so they like at worst trade, you know.
not a terrible position to be in. Tyranitar wouldn't be super excited
should
to
be
see Conkeldurr here, but
Conkeldurr?
Cresselia is still there to help out, so
Yeah.
nothing that can happen here is too bad for him, and we do see Conkeldurr.
Speaking of not being particularly excited to see the Conkeldurr, out comes Conkeldurr, going to immediately threaten that Tyranitar. Of course, Cresselia.
So this is an interesting position, because Aaron, like in theory, he could crunch he has to call whether or not Conkeldurr protects itself. Predicting a Psychic, because if Conkeldurr protects itself, then you can crunch Cresselia. The obvious move here is just protect Tyranitar and Psychic Conkeldurr, but it feels like a mind game. Yeah.
It's pretty good at dealing with Conkeldurr. It's psychic typing, being super effective against the fighting type Conkeldurr. But definitely some excellent offensive pressure.
Aaron, however, cannot afford to lose his Conkeldurr or his Tyranitar, because if he does, he won't be able to beat Cresselia. So I feel like you have to play defensive with your Tyranitar here.
Ryosuke.
And one thing Tyranitar might be a little bit more excited about here is that, as in the first match against Sajin, Landorus went down really early here. Both teams have a lot of physical attackers, so removing the Pokemon that have ways of messing with those physical attackers is really important for these guys if they want to inflict any damage. Aaron has 2 in Landorus T and Rotom W, but it's really only Landorus T on Ryosuke's side. So Tyranitar, sooner or later, might get a chance to do some damage here, but not while Conkeldurr's out.
Yeah, not while Conkeldurr.
That's a really smart switch. He's going to go into Tyranitar.
Cresselia also realizing it can't do a whole heck of a lot against the Cresselia, and Tyranitar is going to...
Oh, he had Heatran in the back. I wasn't expecting that at all. I really expected to be Tyranitar. Okay, cool. That makes sense.
For that, Heatran makes an appearance here.
I think he could have brought it in sooner, personally. I think it would have made sense to bring it in sooner, but maybe, I mean, if you take a Hydro Pump and you lose your Heatran, you're kind of screwed, so yeah. I like this switch a lot from Gabibo, because now he's in a position where he can erupt in Fighting Move, and that's really hard for Aaron to deal with that.
As Conkeldurr doesn't want to take any damage from Cresselia, is going to protect away that, make sure that it can't take any damage this
I agree with
turn,
that play.
as well as Tyranitar.
It doesn't work out, but I would have done the same thing. You can't afford to lose
No one wants
Tyranitar
to
here.
take damage. Everyone's switching, everyone's protecting,
Unless he
everyone's
reverses
hiding
Trick Room.
behind their screens. As Cresselia is going to...
That was so smart. Aaron, that was so smart. So what he does is he reverses Trick Room, which is really good for him, because now Tyranitar and Cresselia are faster than Conkeldurr, and he has Rotom in the back. Yeah, and so he doesn't have to make a read with Psychic or not. If Conkeldurr attacks, then he can Psychic next turn first and end up with the same amount of damage. And if Conkeldurr protects, now Conkeldurr can't protect and he can Psychic that slot.
Verse the Trick Room. One of the interesting mechanics of Trick Room. If you Trick Room while Trick Room is up,
Oh, also, Aaron has Hidden Power Grass on his Heatran, which is something I didn't talk about, but is really cool. But it means that, yeah, he can't. It's not really good to bring here, in my opinion, because Gabibo has both Heatran and Tyranitar, and he doesn't have a ground type move.
Room goes away.
A good move by Aaron there. He's correctly decided that he probably doesn't want to fight Conkeldurr and Heatran and Trick Room. He turns that right around, and now he's in a little bit better position. He's still not super excited by poor Conkeldurr there, but at least he's in.
Aaron has to choose if he wants to Psychic the Conkeldurr, which could switch to Cresselia, or if he wants to... It's kind of tough, actually. Like, I think you might just attack with Tyranitar and just low-kick the Heatran for damage and psychic the Conkeldurr and say, okay, like... But Mach Punch would make that kind of bad.
A better position now. Tyranitar likely quicker than at least Conkeldurr and maybe Heatran. And Cresselia definitely quicker than Conkeldurr now, so some pressure going the other way. Especially because he wouldn't have been able to do any damage to protecting Conkeldurr and Heatran with Cresselia anyway, so a great use of that turn there.
Yeah, definitely a good use there. Gets the Cresselia, which, you know, we aren't used to thinking of Cresselia as an...
Again, though, Aaron does have to keep in mind that if Tyranitar goes down, he could have Heatran in the back. I guess I shouldn't be assuming anything. But yeah, if Tyranitar goes down, it's going to be hard for him to beat Cresselia.
Offensive powerhouse, but is going to have some offensive pressure against this Conkeldurr. Clearly the most important Pokemon on Ryosuke's side for right now.
That's part of what makes Cresselia so good. Even though her offensive stats are not amazing,
makes sense.
She does have good coverage.
And the Mach Punch comes out from that Conkeldurr onto Tyranitar.
It's going to do a lot of damage.
Into the Chopal Berry. That's going to weaken the power of the Mach Punch. We've already seen it's boosted by Life Orb earlier. Is going to deal a lot of damage. Gets down to the red, the 19 health. Super effective attack, but not quite enough to get rid of that Tyranitar. As the Psyshock comes out from Cresselia onto the Conkeldurr, is going to deal good damage there.
This isn't going to KO, but the chip is really good.
It is super effective. And you can see it going all the way down. Look at all that damage. It's super effective.
Popping off.
It gets the critical hit.
Yeah, that shouldn't have killed. That's a big deal. That's a huge deal, because now rotom-wash is just looking amazing here.
Hit onto Conkeldurr and gets another.
Aaron made that play as if his Tyranitar was definitely faster than the Heatran. I guess we'll find out, because if he's faster, it's a great play. If not, it's very risky.
Another knockout for Aaron Zheng.
That's a huge knockout there.
Yeah, okay,
but,
risky.
Heatran's going to not just leave it at that.
Yeah, here comes the eruption from Heatran. Is going to get the KO onto Tyranitar and deal some damage to that Cresselia. And at full health with that Fire Gem is going to be dealing a whole lot.
Remember that bulk that Aaron put in his Tyranitar? I don't think we really touched on it, but it helps a lot in situations like those. Because if he dies to that Mach Punch, he's in trouble.
Damage there. As you can see, the health bar moving down. Cresselia, very bulky, isn't going to be quite enough, but is going to take out Tyranitar.
Yeah. A lot of good damage back there. It was really important for Ryosuke to...
The rest looks really good here. This is actually the second year in a row. Oh, wait, no. Did Aaron bring Hitmontop to Worlds? I think so. He had my exact team, right? Yeah, we just arrested Hitmontop the year before this. But Aaron can go into Rotom here, set Light Screen, arrest, and then probably just honestly like whittle Ryosuke down, who probably also doesn't have anything for Rotom at this point. So that save earlier was really good.
Just because Aaron had already taken 2 knockouts, and with only 4 Pokemon, you know, it's half of the battle done already, so at least he gets 1.5 there, so pretty close to tying the game, but Rotom's back here, and it's in pretty good position.
Yeah, Rotom definitely a superstar against this Heatran. Of course, you know, fire types, we talked about them a little bit earlier. Always a player.
Crest Heatran is always going to make me feel some kind of way. So Gen 5 Cresselia Heatran is always going to bring back memories for me.
Heatran, but it doesn't like seeing Rotom at all, and Cresselia comes out, not adding a whole lot of offensive pressure again.
Yeah, I mean, Rotom's probably pretty excited here, though. It's got Cresselia, who can't do a whole lot to it, and maybe it can try and miss some more Will-O-Wisps on it. And then it's got Heatran here, who is a Fire-type Pokemon, doesn't want anything to do with that Water-type. Cresselia, we also...
Heatran should protect here, so I really like Light Screen Rest, personally. Like, I really like Light Screen Rest. I don't think you go for Hydro Pump here.
Didn't have a Citrus Berry, so it might look for some other ways to recover HP here.
Yeah, definitely Citrus Berry being the most popular item choice on that Cresselia, but it is being used by that Rotom. Very tense moment here for Ryosuke, but we did see him go down early in the match against Seijin. Is going to go for the Protect on that Heatran. Going
Aaron
to
nods.
make sure that it doesn't take any damage this next turn. Light Screen comes out from the Rotom. That's going to drastically reduce the amount of special damage, which is primarily what both Heatran and Cresselia deal. As the Psychic comes out from Cresselia, is going to deal some damage to Rotom, but look at the work that Light Screen is doing. And Rest comes out from Cresselia.
Pops off.
Healing off all of that damage as it goes, takes a little quick cat nap, and it heal off that damage, and then, of course, wake itself right back up.
Yeah, I mean, we don't see Rest on Cresselia too often anymore, but we did see a lot of Spore in the Swiss stages. And one of the things that the Chesto Berry Rest combination lets you do, in addition to healing yourself, is to block Spore.
Mungus is really big.
Mostly just being used to keep Cresselia in the battle and healthy. Light Screen also going to help with that a lot.
If you're Aaron in this position, you can definitely win this. Like, the only question is, do you Hydro Pump the Heatran here and like risk missing, or do you Thunderbolt for consistent damage, or do you burn the Cresselia?
it's more common to have situations where, oh no, my last 2 Pokemon are physical Pokemon, and now I've been intimidated. But Aaron kind of did it the other way around here. You know, he got it down to just 2 special Pokemon and then used Light Screen. And
goes for Hydro Pump.
Much choice for Ryosuke.
He connects.
Into it.
And Rotom is going to get that Hydro Pump off onto Heatran. That super effective water type attack is going to deal a lot of damage to Heatran, but not quite enough. It's going to make sure that the eruptions are much less powerful coming out, though. Ice Beam onto Ryosuke's Cresselia does get another critical hit, but not that much damage going there. Cresselia avoids the Heat Wave coming out from Heatran, and it is going to deal some damage to Rotom, but again, that Light Screen plus the water
That's ridiculous.
is going to make sure that Rotom stays
Okay,
healthy enough as Ryosuke's Cresselia.
I mean, this isn't over. Like, if Rotom goes down, Cresselia can probably beat Conkeldurr, although it's going to be really hard, I think, for Ryosuke to just to do enough damage fast enough, because eventually this is going to be Cresselia versus Cresselia, and actually Rest Cresselia beats non-Rest Cresselia, so never mind, this is over.
It does use that Trick Room to switch the speeds once again.
And then we'll let Heatran be slower, which we'll let it get one.
By the way, this is infinite weather, so the sand chip is forever, just so you know.
Attack off, but the Light Screen is really, really cutting into the damage Heatran's doing here. And even just Cresselia now is a big threat, with Heatran at so low health and Cresselia having the ability to rest.
To be fair, okay, like, Aaron hit a Hydro Pump, but also if he hit that Will-O-Wisp early on Cresselia, like, this game would be so over. Cresselia would have taken so much more damage over the course of the set, like, probably 50% from burn already, if I had to guess. It's definitely been on the field for 4 turns since then, or maybe 3 turns, but yeah, almost 50%. Yeah, so the Will-O-Wisp miss earlier there plays a big role, and the fact that this game is not technically over. Like, if Aaron's last Pokemon is Heatran, he could, in theory, lose this, although it would be difficult, I think, but yeah. Anyway, let's see.
It alone is a huge threat, but there's still Rotom there that has to be dealt with. You can't just focus on Cresselia, or the water type's going to run all over Ryosuke here. He's in trouble.
I think if you have Heatran, you switch it in here. Okay,
definitely not a position
go for
that
it.
Ryosuke wanted to
Dodges
be in.
another Heat Wave.
Just can't seem to hit that Cresselia. Avoids it once again. Does get more damage onto the Rotom. Still not going to be able to get the KO there thanks to that Light Screen and the water typing, but the Psychic will be able to finally get that damage done as Rotom goes down. And it's just Cresselia out on the field right now, going to get that Ice Beam again onto Ryosuke's Cresselia. Going to deal some
I feel like you maybe should target a Heatran there. I don't know.
As a Citrus Berry comes out from Ryosuke's Cresselia here.
Interesting that Aaron doesn't seem to care about Heatran.
Yeah, I agree.
He used those last 2 attacks to knock Heatran out instead, but instead his Cresselia is just slowly whittling the other Cresselia down.
Yeah, definitely deciding that
Cresselia
is the bigger threat to the remainder of Aaron's team.
Let's see.
As we see Conkeldurr coming out, makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's always a reason, right? And he wasn't just randomly attacking Cresselia, so he was trying to weaken the enemy Cresselia. So
by the way, something I like is that Aaron's Conkeldurr is 189 HP stat, which means he takes less damage from Life Orb than if he invested more.
Help his buddy Conkeldurr out here and avoid him getting
it's like a smart HP number, is what I'm saying.
The wall by Cresselia's psychic power.
Definitely the case here, and with the Heatran
Scouts for Protect.
Low HP, not a huge threat there. As Conkeldurr goes for the Protect, doesn't want to take any Psychics from the Cresselia on the opposite side. Conkeldurr does protect away that Heat Wave damage, and one finally lands on Aaron's Cresselia here. Still not going to deal a whole lot of damage, though.
He just continues chipping away. I would have liked to see Psychic there because it covers all the options, but I understand why he's Ice Beaming. He read Heatran to protect.
Again, and the Psychic from Ryosuke is back onto Conkeldurr, who protected it away.
Yeah, it's kind of slowly ending this game for Aaron here. He's got a pretty commanding lead here, even though these are the last Pokemon since he's way ahead on health here. So not taking any big risks. He was probably expecting Heatran to protect there.
The chip is he's doing a good job of chipping down this Cresselia. Can you guys see why Cresselia is like such a problem in this format? Like how hard it is to remove. Yeah, like it's crazy.
Cresselia on Ryosuke's side starting to get worn down enough that even Conkeldurr could probably finish this off pretty soon. And Aaron can still rest.
If you're Aaron, what you could do is you could be a little crazy and you could Ice Punch and Ice Beam into the Cresselia to get like a lot of damage off and read the Heatran Protect. But you could also just play safe and Mach Punch the Heatran.
Cresselia whenever he needs to. So he's just kind of leisurely finishing this game out here.
With Light Screen up, you pretty much only lose to a crit. Ending, I think on Conkeldurr with Psychic.
Still, really interesting.
But it could happen.
To get what we got here, and
it could definitely happen.
You're kind of using the time as this battle whittles down to start thinking about what they're going to do in game 2.
Yeah. Definitely a good point there.
Shakes his
you
head.
always want to make the most use of your time as you have it. Heatran is going to protect itself as Conkeldurr does try to go for the Mach Punch, but it's right into that Protect, which means that Ryosuke's Cresselia might finally get the chance that it's been trying so long to get the Psychic off. Does eat another Ice Beam, does get the Psychic off this time onto Conkeldurr. We'll have to take a look, see how
by the way, Double Protect is 50% this game.
much damage it's going to do. Conkeldurr is very healthy, and it's not going to be enough at all. a lot of work being done by that light screen there.
Yeah. One of the most effective turns in this game, I think. Sometimes the support moves get a little underappreciated because it's more subtle, the effect they've had, but that light screen must have blocked the damage of 7 or 8 special attacks. It's a lot of reduced damage.
Yeah, and there you see the light screen finally wearing off on Aaron's side.
Light screen's gone. It's not a big
so
deal.
Cresselia might be able to deal some damage there, but probably not going to be enough. It's been too late, too many light screen turns.
Yeah, likely. I think you have to repeat Ryosuke's here. Even though he's way
Goes for the
behind,
double protect,
he's
50%.
turn predicting the
Gets the
potential
double.
a little bit better.
But Aaron reads it.
And we do get
I'm
another
covering
protect
Aaron. I
off
didn't
from
realize.
Ryosuke's Heatran as the Ice Punch comes out from Conkeldurr onto the Cresselia.
Yeah, he made the read. That was a good play.
The bait there. It's going to deal
That was a
good
good play.
damage there, and it's enough to KO the Cresselia.
I'm so sorry. I was blocking all of Aaron's reactions. I'm really sorry. Now I'm small for me.
And it's Heatran versus Conkeldurr with that Mach Punch and the Cresselia. Looks like Aaron Zheng is going to take.
Why do they cut away mid-turn? Did he go for Psychic? Is the game over? Does he have 1 turn left?
Game.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a situation Heatran's going to claw itself out of, but you have to give credit to Aaron there.
I have no idea what Aaron used there.
He made it look a little silly for the last few turns there because he couldn't quite get Conkeldurr onto that Heatran, but there he goes,
Yep.
He makes a nice little move there himself and reminds us why he's...
I think if Aaron went for Ice Beam there, which I don't know because they cut away and I have no idea, but Ice Beam wouldn't have KO'd Heatran, so if he Ice Punches Cresselia and then Ryosuke goes for Heat Wave and Aaron Ice Beams there, then I think that Ryosuke can win. So I hope Aaron went for Psychic, but I do not know because, again, they cut away.
He's in the top 4. Makes the right move there and doesn't care about the double protect.
Yeah, we hear the
That was a risky move because if Ryosuke expects Aaron to expect him to go for the double protect and just Heat Waves, like I said, he could lose. So it is risky.
For Aaron, as the Mach Punch from his Conkeldurr is going to KO that Heatran and seal Game 1 for Aaron Zheng of the United States of America.
There's Alika.
Great game.
Yeah, that was a good game. Get a little slow at the end there, but how we got there was really interesting, and I think it was also interesting how close it was to the first game of the previous series. Once again, Landorus went down a little bit early.
Is that Paul? Paul, is this you right here? I can't tell. All right, we're jumping to game 2.
This before for last game. How do you adjust? What are the
changes
you make?
We are 1 hour into the video. We're 30 minutes into the actual video.
And you see now that you have this information.
I think that's going to be a really difficult challenge for him. Like I said, I might...
So far it's been good Pokemon, right? So far, like, game 1 went pretty cleanly. I like how both players played. You might not understand why this is one of the most famous games of Pokemon, especially for those of us who have played for a while. We'll watch game 2.
Not use Landorus this time. I just feel like it's so difficult to actually do damage. There's this Ice Punch on Conkeldurr, which we saw last game, even though it didn't end up targeting.
Aaron Zheng is 1 game away from making it to finals. The match went pretty cleanly, so he has to be feeling good. And Ryosuke is 1 game away from elimination, which I think will influence, as we heard, his thought process of how he approaches this game.
Rotom-W. The chances of actually getting anything done are really tough.
Yeah.
But he's got to find an alternate way of dealing with those physical attackers this time because they're huge.
Oh, man.
Definitely.
Here we go.
Big, giant threats to his team as we go into game 2. Again, Ryosuke Kosuge representing the nation of Japan on the top of your screen, and Aaron Zheng from the United States of America on the bottom. Ryosuke sends out his double genies, the classic that he used to take game 2 from Seijin Park, the Thundurus and the Landorus up against that Rotom and Cresselia. It ain't broke.
Yeah, I think this is about what we expected to see on turn 1 of the second game here. Aaron won game 1 fairly convincingly. No need for changes, but this is a more standard reaction, I guess, from Ryosuke. Last game, it was really interesting that he was so aggressive, or last series, I should say.
I think it's interesting he doesn't have Rock Slide on Landorus, but it's to KO Thundurus, I think.
It was really interesting he was so aggressive not to change his strategy after losing game 1. This is more typical. He lost the first game, and this time he's making some changes to help him out here.
Making some changes, going back to something that worked against Seijin Park earlier. The Thundurus being out on the field definitely going to be good pressure on that Rotom immediately. Will be able to deal some damage, or it can go for the Thunder Wave, get the paralysis on Rotom real early, going to cut its speed and give it a chance to be
Buckle in, here we go.
Able to attack in the upcoming moves. And you see the U-turn coming out from Landorus. Just wants to get some damage off, knows that it can't stick around.
I mean, it's a good play from Ryosuke. Like, Aaron, he saves his Landorus, he gets a Thunder Wave off.
With a Rotom-wash and a Cresselia out on the field.
He gets a lot of good damage off. Like, Aaron's Cresselia was a problem for Ryosuke last game, so I like it. And Thunder Wave obviously is... it's better to Thunder Wave the Pokemon that can't rest, I guess. And it's a good investment for the future, but yeah.
There, with that U-turn, goes back to Ryosuke, and he's going to pick a new Pokemon to send out.
A good adjustment by him here. Thundurus can't necessarily do a lot of damage to any of the members of Aaron's team, but Thunder Wave and Swagger allow him to reduce the amount of times Aaron's Pokemon are attacking. Hopefully both the trainers give their Pokemon a pep talk this game to help them aim a little bit better. Because
that's a huge miss. Ryosuke's Iron Fist Conkeldurr, so if he burns it there, it takes it's like a huge deal. Third Will-O-Wisp miss. He hasn't hit one yet.
Turns mostly to accuracy last game, and I see that hasn't changed.
Yeah, nothing has changed for Aaron Zheng, as his Rotom is still unable to hit that Will-O-Wisp, but a critical hit. Nothing has changed for him as well. That Cresselia getting some very clutch critical hits there. Does about half damage to that Conkeldurr there.
Yeah, that poor Cresselia must.
So Conkeldurr's probably in Psyshock range now, which is really good for Aaron because of that crit. But the burn is way more important in my opinion there.
Be frustrated by its teammates. Like, it's getting all these critical hits, and his teammates can't even hit once. Like, come on, guys. But
Cresselia definitely trying to make up for those.
But here's the problem with this position: is that Thundurus is healthy, and I'll give you a guess to guess what it's going to do next.
Those misses there.
Yeah, assuming that Will-O-Wisp was going toward Conkeldurr, I think I still take that. Both the miss and the crit if I'm Ryosuke there. I really don't want Conkeldurr burned. It used to be popular to use Guts and Conkeldurr, so it wasn't a big deal to get burned because it would just increase your attack at the expense of some damage. But nowadays, the ability Iron Fist, which comes from the Dream World, is a lot more popular. It increases the power of punching abilities, and that's pretty much what Conkeldurr does. I mean, he's a guy holding concrete blocks. He wants to punch you. So
he just punches.
Yeah.
And it looks like that paralyzed Rotom making a decision on what move it'll make. Of course, Conkeldurr is out on the field, but it's not going to want to stick around with that Cresselia.
He's going to protect Thunder Wave. Yep. Yeah, Aaron
and of
not
course,
happy
it
about
does
that.
Go for the protect there to make sure that it is not going to take any damage. As another Thunder Wave comes out from Thundurus. This is what Thundurus Incarnate does best. It spreads status as the paralysis comes out onto Cresselia. Of course, we have already seen the rest on Cresselia, so it can get rid of that paralysis at any time it so chooses. The Psyshock comes out, but it is into that Conkeldurr's Protect once again. And the Will-O-Wisp out from Rotom also are going to be avoided.
He Will-O-Wisp the Thundurus there, for those of you who aren't familiar. And that's the fourth Will-O-Wisp that he's missed.
4 for 4. 4 for 4 for those Will-O-Wisps.
Yeah, I mean...
For those of you who are wondering, I think this is the point where it gets bad. Not before this, but I think this is where it gets... and bad, I mean, it's just hard to watch. Well, you can decide for yourself.
Maybe you should try a different strategy. This one doesn't seem to be working out for him. Tough breaks in the Will-O-Wisp there, but I mean, still, there wasn't a whole lot he was going to get out of that turn either way. By using Will-O-Wisp in that slot, if there had been a switch in, he would have protected a little bit better, but uh-oh.
And here's where things get dicey for Aaron.
Wait, that's so funny, Evan. I totally agree. I just said it. Didn't I just say this is where things get bad?
Swagger coming out onto Cresselia now that it's both paralyzed.
And like, if you look at Aaron's body language, he's not happy here.
And confused. Its chances of attacking are drastically reduced now. Very unlikely for that Cresselia to be dealing a lot of damage, as now that Rotom is paralyzed, that Conkeldurr does get to go first, using that powerful Hammer Arm, but Rotom survives at 1 hit.
Remember when I said Conkeldurr is like stupidly powerful? This is what I meant.
Point. Just 1 hit point separating Rotom from being sent back to the Pokeball.
Okay, so even though Aaron is like he hasn't been able to get many attacks off here, he's actually not in bad shape, because if he could just get rid of this Conkeldurr, which presumably he Psyshocks or Trick Rooms this turn with Cresselia, he could even Thunderbolt it with Rotom, it would be crazy, or Will-O-Wisp it with Rotom. If he gets Trick Room up, then Tyranitar and Trick Room looks very strong once Conkeldurr goes down, because you have Ice Beam with Cresselia for Landorus. Also, Dark types aren't immune to Pranksters, so you can Thunder Wave and Swagger Tyranitar if you want. But yeah.
It did. And it is going to recover a little bit of HP from that Citrus Berry. But it is going to try for another Will-O-Wisp. Will it hit? No!
That was into Conkeldurr. That would have been huge. 0 for 5.
Well, of course not. Of course Rotom is not going to hit with that Will-O-Wisp, as the confused and paralyzed Cresselia is unable to make a move.
He needed to get something on Conkeldurr there. Either Will-O-Wisp or Psychic, because once Conkeldurr goes down, Tyranitar is much more favorable. Like, it's much more favorable in this matchup and can definitely win. Definitely win.
Either the fully paralyzed Cresselia.
He has Ice Punch on Conkeldurr, so yeah.
Frustrating turn for Aaron there. I guess he got a little lucky just to be able to get the chance to attack there, and at least now, I guess Conkeldurr will have to attack once more, at least one of the 2 targets, and take some more Life Orb recoil there, but not too surprising Cresselia couldn't act there. When you're both paralyzed and confused, you're actually more likely not to be able to move than you are to be able to move. And that's what Thundurus does best. You have to deal with
when people ask me like why I hate Thundurus so much, and they started in VGC in like not 2013 or 2012, like the 2014 and after, and they don't really understand. This is it.
And Aaron's just been choosing to ignore it, so he's going to have to play the percentages now and just deal with the paralysis and the confusion. That's what makes it really powerful. It's not necessarily that it does a whole bunch of damage itself, but it just prevents you from doing damage. So over a bigger sample of turns, it does more damage.
And it prevents more damage as well, which is very important. As Conkeldurr
That's a really smart switch because, yeah, Conkeldurr needs to go down for Aaron to win
is
this
going
with
to
Tyranitar.
bounce back to Ryosuke. Doesn't want to stick around for the chance as Heatran comes out. It's going to let Thundurus get a Thunderbolt off onto Rotom. That's going to deal good damage and probably enough to get the KO. Yep, there you go. Rotom faints as Heatran now on the field. And Cresselia,
if he gets Trick Room up here, he's still fine, I think.
Roll the dice. Try and make another move. Confused and paralyzed, but it hits itself in its own confusion, deals some damage, and is unable to make an attack.
And not this time for Cresselia.
So all Aaron's been able to do this entire game, and he's lost a Pokemon and taken 40%, and he's been paralyzed and confusing Cresselia. He's gotten one Ice Beam off, which crit Conkeldurr, and that's it. And this is turn 4, I think. Like, he Will-O-Wisp Ice Beam turn 1, I think, and missed Will-O-Wisp and got the Ice Beam crit. Turn 2, he went for Will-O-Wisp into Thundurus and Psyshock into Conkeldurr, which protected itself as he got Thunder Waved and missed Will-O-Wisp. And then turn 3, Swagger into Cresselia and Hammer Arm into Rotom. Cresselia gets paralyzed. Rotom lives and misses Will-O-Wisp. Turn 4, Thunderbolt and Switch, and he gets confused. Like, he's it's turn 5. He's been 4 turns, and he's gotten one Ice Beam off.
I don't know what to say.
One out of the 8 attacks that he's used has succeeded, effectively.
Swagger is what it is, and it's one of the most hated strategies in VGC, but there's a reason people keep using it. It works, and it's one of those things that you just have to have a solution for. Otherwise, this is going to happen. And maybe Aaron didn't have the best draws earlier in the match, which helped lead him to this position, but either later in this game or in the third game, if he's not able to bring this one back, he's going to have to find a better way to deal with this.
And again, the Cresselia can still rest off at least one of those. It will, of course, have to move to do that, though.
At least he does get Tyranitar out here. One of the best ways to deal with Thundurus.
Yeah, if he just got rid of the Conkeldurr, even with all the unfortunate things, I think if one of his attacks had hit the Conkeldurr, maybe Thunderbolt, even if he Thunderbolted Conkeldurr and it fainted, which I think it actually would have, the turn where he Will-O-Wisp it and missed, then I think he could actually be in fine position here, because Tyranitar is really good here against Heatran and Thundurus, and like Landorus you have Cresselia for, and you can use Tyranitar to beat down the Thundurus and then save your Cresselia, so... Yeah, and Ice Punch on Conkeldurr as well, so I think it actually could be okay.
Tyranitar.
If he'd KO'd Conkeldurr.
As a rock type, it does a bunch of damage to it with super effective rock type.
It's not his fault. I mean, I guess you should have Thunderbolt instead of Will-O-Wisp, but I agree why he made that play. I understand why he made that play.
In addition to getting some damage on the other target with Rock Slide, so at least it helps.
No Thunder Wave.
And Thundurus is
he's gonna Eruption kill
pleased with the paralysis and the confusion it spread. He's just going to go for straight damage. Thunderbolting that Cresselia as the Fire Gem
Aaron couldn't do anything into that.
Erupts from Heatran.
He couldn't do anything.
And is going to deal not that much damage to Tyranitar thanks to the special defense boost, but it should be enough to get the KO on that Cresselia as we see the boulders falling down and the hit bar going down. And it, does get the KO onto Cresselia, who, wasn't moving anyway, so why even keep it around?
Rock Slide comes out.
Tyranitar does get the Rock Slide. Oh, but another avoid!
No!
Double avoid!
Okay, it's turn 5, and Aaron has not hit a single. He's hit one Ice Beam.
Heatran and Thundurus both avoiding Tyranitar's Rock Slides that would have done great damage to that Thundurus and good damage to that Heatran.
It's a frustrating turn for Aaron there, right?
It's a frustrating game.
Yeah, he just can't seem to get things going his way. Hopefully he'll be able to shake this one off.
He probably can't beat Conkeldurr Landorus in the back now. He was so close to winning this one, but yeah.
Next one, assuming nothing amazing happens here. But I do have to give Ryosuke credit for that turn. You mentioned rest. I think it was really important for him there not to just ignore Cresselia and let it eventually move probably and get the rest off and heal off all that.
Okay, call me crazy, but I actually think the right play for Aaron there is to sack Conkeldurr. Like, I think it's his only way of winning this. Is that last turn he had to switch Cresselia to Conkeldurr, go for a Rock Slide, try and burn the Fire Gem, get some damage off, and then be able to go for Trick Room Rock Slide again, and then Cresselia plus with rest and an Ice Beam, because Cresselia beats the Pokemon in the back and Tyranitar beats the Pokemon in the front. So I think if you burn the Fire Gem and weaken Eruption there, you could still win. Though I don't blame him for we'll talk about tilt after this game.
The damage that it had taken. So really good move there, just to kind of take a decisive blow once it was around half HP and not give it the chance to hang around while it was low and give Aaron an obvious situation to rest.
Yeah, definitely important to get rid of that Cresselia before it could continue to be a threat to Ryosuke's Pokemon. We do see Aaron's Conkeldurr does come out on the field, which will be able to threaten both of them, actually.
He can't win
that
this.
Ice Punch we saw.
It would be very difficult.
Conkeldurr being really
because he can't beat Landorus.
the major powerhouse in these games.
Yeah, it has been, and I think the threat of Mach Punch is big here too because
Thunderous
Heatran doesn't want to take that before it uses Eruption because it reduces the damage as it's based on the percentage of HP you have. So at least it makes the situation a little more
he could win this.
controllable.
This isn't over.
But Thundurus is going to go ahead and use that Thunder Wave to paralyze Conkeldurr, making it much less likely that Heatran will have to take one of those Mach Punches. Goes for the Heat Wave,
He can't win
predicting that a Mach Punch was coming anyway. Thanks to that HP-based damage.
Okay, hits
doesn't
Rock
want
Slide this
to
time. This is
risk
good information because it tells you how much is Thunderous. It won't
damage
kill.
outputs. The rocks
But like, yeah, like yeah, he can't win this at this point, but it's still good to get to know.
Finally hit for Aaron this time.
Okay, that's good to know, right? Now he knows that if he chips it at all with Thunderbolt or Ice Beam or like Mach Punch, he can
And
KO
deals
it.
a lot of damage to that Thundurus, and just a little bit
doubles
of
it.
damage to the Heatran.
I agree with that play. The only way Aaron is winning this is if Ryosuke misplays. So even though obviously it doesn't work, like that's the only like if you switch to Landorus there, which he could have done, like I don't know. I agree with that read a lot.
Probably predicting a switch down to maybe the Landorus there.
Yeah, he's taking so much damage.
Yeah, I like the prediction by him. It didn't work out there though, but it was smart. You know, with Heatran out there, he probably expected that Ryosuke wasn't just going to let him do free damage to it with Conkeldurr, and expected to switch to Landorus, but not this time. You know,
the reason Ryosuke doesn't switch there, by the way, is because he has Focus Sash on Landorus, so he doesn't want to like risk it most likely, and also he has no reason to switch because if he gets the damage on Conkeldurr, then he can win with Earthquake. So yeah,
that's one of the advantages of being ahead is you don't always have to make those safe switches because you're still in a very controllable situation, especially because Landorus coming out safely later would have a good shot at closing this game on its own. So good move by his opponent not to do that. But when
that better be
Conkeldurr
Conkeldurr Ryosuke.
Try to get those free
Actually, no,
knockouts.
it's fine. It's
Yeah,
fine. It's fine. It could be
and Thundurus
Landorus.
doesn't want to give up a free knockout this turn.
Okay, so
Switches out.
actually no, that's risky because if Aaron for some reason read this, I guess no. Actually, with Conkeldurr the last Pokemon, it's fine. Never mind. All right.
For that Landorus gets the Intimidate off, but a little bit of a risky play in case
It feels riskier than it
Aaron
is, I
decided
think.
to target that slot. The Intimidate.
Okay, I mean, of course it could. The way that it backfires is actually no. Never
going
mind.
to do
Okay,
a lot of
never mind.
work lowering the Tyranitar and the Conkeldurr's attack there. But Conkeldurr does choose to go for the Mach Punch this time onto that Heatran. Is going to deal a lot of damage there. As you can see, the hit points falling down, but not anywhere near enough thanks to that Intimidate. Still in the orange bar there as the Heat Wave comes out once more. Does
Like
hit both
in theory, if Aaron Ice Punches Cresselia or Ice Punches Thundurus there, and Ryosuke goes for Heat Wave and he double misses Heat Wave, and then Aaron Rock Slides, then but Aaron can never beat the Conkeldurr, which is what I was saying earlier.
And that should
yeah.
be enough to take out the Conkeldurr and deal a little bit of damage to that Tyranitar that'll add up over time.
Yeah, big turn for Ryosuke again there, and it's kind of the reverse of last game now. Both in the
Crunch.
sense that he's getting stalled out here, and in the sense that Intimidate gets two physical Pokemon that can't switch.
Yep, and the Crunch comes out onto that Landorus. It's going to deal some damage, but the Intimidate.
Yeah, this
and,
game
of
is
course,
over.
Tyranitar up against.
It was
the
closer
Landorus.
than it looked. Like if Aaron got one Trick Room off there, I think this whole if he gets rid of Conkeldurr and then can I think this game is a lot closer than it looked.
Isn't where you want to be
Truthfully.
as the Tyranitar player. Protect comes out from the Heatran. Doesn't want to get hit by his partner's Earthquake, which would of course deal enough damage to get the KO there. Earthquake does come out from the Landorus and is going to hit the Tyranitar. The ground is moving and shaking, and Tyranitar is taking damage, and all of the hit points are going away, and Tyranitar...
Okay, so if you're Aaron... Actually, I'll hear what they say. If you're Aaron, you have to not tilt here, right? But you know that you were very close to winning this set and moving on to the finals right there, and now not only are you double nervous because... you had a game that you pretty much just lost to luck, right? To probabilities. But you also realize that you're one game away from losing in the top 4. And how are you Aaron's team doesn't have a faster or doesn't have Taunt Thundurus, which is one of the answers to Thundurus, and so he doesn't have a really easy answer to this Thundurus and this threat. So there's no Z moves, there's no Dynamax, it doesn't look like any Pokemon in Aaron's team can one-shot it except for maybe Conkeldurr, but Ryosuke led it with Ice Punch Landorus, or with Intimidate Landorus, which would weaken the Ice Punch anyway. So if you're Aaron here, like it's going to be very tricky to figure out how to deal with this thing. And yeah, I mean, it's not super clear, right? And so he's super nervous. He's got to be frustrated because that was a really frustrating way to lose a game, right? You know that if a couple things differently, you could have won that, and you realize you realize that you might not have a great way to stop that Thunder as quickly. So
Sort of a repeat of last time.
well, you do have a ground type,
We
so
could have
that's
had more
something worth
different
noting.
first and second games in this series. In the first game, Aaron won pretty convincingly, even though it took him a little bit longer. He picked a very conservative way to close the game out. There wasn't too much doubt that he was going to win the game. This time, completely in the other direction. Aaron was almost never really in it. Part of it was because he was having trouble hitting attacks. Swagger and Thunderwave were going against him, but he wasn't really doing a whole lot to prevent those things from happening. He left Thunderous alone for
That's what I just said. Thank you, Scott.
the first several turns of the battle, and Thunderous did what Thunderous does. It's frustrating to lose that way if you're Aaron, but you've got to look at the controllable parts of that. Okay, game 3, if I'm Aaron, I'm thinking I've got to find a better way to control Thunderous. I can't let him paralyze all of my important Pokemon. I can't let him just swagger my special attackers. I think it was a good adjustment by Ryosuke there. He knew he wasn't just going to win a game by slugging it out because of Rotom. Aaron's got a better team for doing that. So instead he was playing a percentage game. I'm going to use moves like Thunder Wave and Swagger that give me a higher percentage chance of moving, and I'm going to use that to slowly close the game out rather than just to try to take it in big decisive damage trades.
Definitely a very smart adaptation from who we've already seen is a very smart trainer, Ryosuke Kosuge. And we see on
Ryosuke realizing that the percentages are his best bet and that Aaron doesn't have a quick way through Thunderous is very smart. I know that the strategy looks degenerate, but it's just, I mean, that's Pokemon, and it's a good realization in my opinion.
on the screen here, Ryosuke's team: Tyranitar, Heatran, Landorus, Cresselia, Thundurus, and Conkeldurr. Very familiar to all of us by now. As well as Aaron Zheng's team: Cresselia, Rotom Washing Machine, Conkeldurr, Landorus, Therian Form,
Rotom Washing
Tyranitar,
Machine.
and Heatran. So you mentioned Aaron has to make sure that Thundurus isn't going to be able to just swagger and paralyze his entire team.
Do you like that there's only one face cam, by the way? I like that. I don't like it. I just think it's funny. That's all.
What options does Aaron have to make sure that the Thundurus doesn't get those free turns off?
Well, I think the main option is Tyranitar, which is dangerous to use in this situation because we've seen how big Conkeldurr's already been in this series, and it's only going to get worse.
Can we take a moment to appreciate how Conkeldurr's animation, where it's like picking up and putting down the concrete blocks? Look,
If he has to, lean in really hard because it's easy situations, I guess, for Conkeldurr to slug away at Tyranitar while it's trying to deal with Thundurus. But I think it's going to be mandatory.
yeah, like
He's gotta
Tyranitar
get
Cresselia
involved
looks.
sooner
Sorry.
in the game.
Tyranitar Cresselia looks really good here. Like because Cresselia threatens Conkeldurr and Landorus, and Tyranitar threatens Heatran and Tyranitar and Thundurus. So I don't know. And Cresselia.
It's the only really good counter he has to it. He also has the option of using Trick Room and then trying to use Conkeldurr to deal with it. And while that will probably be able to knock it out in a single blow, he's opening himself up while setting up Trick Room and while trying to get that attack off to Thunder Wave and Swagger. So he's going to have to roll the dice to do it that way. Whereas Tyranitar can do it at least a little bit quicker because it's going to be able to take a couple attacks. But
There's no adjustment from Aaron in the
surprisingly
leads.
Here, we see Aaron isn't deviating from his leads.
Yeah, is still going to go with that Rotom and the Cresselia leads. And Ryosuke, not surprisingly, is going to stick with his Thundurus and Landorus leads.
So Thundurus is
Double
too
D
bulky. Like Aaron needs a way to get rid of it immediately, but by leading this, Ryosuke has made sure that he can't get rid of it immediately. That's the kind of the brilliance of Thundurus Landorus.
Did a lot of work the first game. They were, especially that Thundurus, were very clutch, and I'm not surprised to see them both out on the field again.
Now, I'm not surprised to see them either, but I am surprised to see the same duo from Aaron.
I definitely thought he would lead Cresselia Landorus here for the record. Like, at least you get a Pokemon immune to Thunder Wave, and Cresselia Landorus is good because you weaken the opposing Landorus. You can U-turn and Trick Room and go into maybe Tyranitar and get the Sand Up, which is good. And also you have two Pokemon, like your two best Pokemon if they're gonna get Thunder Waved are those two because of the ground immunity for Landorus and then the rest to Chestoberry on on Cresselia.
He won the first game and Ryusuke had to adjust, and now in game 3 it was Aaron's turn and he just don't need to adjust. This did work out for Ryusuke in the previous series where he just decided that even though he lost, he didn't need to change anything. His strategy was good enough. So Aaron may have that same success here. He may think that it was just the luck that caused him to lose the last game, and if he gets better rolls this time, it won't matter. His strategy was fine, and just the execution didn't work out quite the way he planned.
Yeah, definitely a possibility there. And, It's going to be interesting to see if Aaron is going to be able to make it happen. As we see once more, the Thunder Waves coming out. Rotom is now paralyzed thanks to that Thunderous' prankster ability, and the U-turn again coming out.
Same turn one, which is
Landorus,
interesting.
Going to deal damage to Cresselia and going to go back to Ryosuke.
Could swear I've seen this once before. We're seeing a very similar battle to the previous game. In which
By the way, keep in mind what I was talking about with like mirror matches, how like this doesn't look like a mirror match in terms of what the players are doing, you know?
Lost. So it's interesting. I'm eager to see where he's going to make the deviation that makes him win the game this time.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see that because he can't just play the
Heatran?
same game unless he thinks that it was only
Oh,
because
Cresselia
of
in the
his
back.
misses there. We do see Cresselia come out, and Rotom is paralyzed, unable to move, not going to be able to do anything. But
Okay, I like that turn one though. I like that turn one much more from Aaron personally.
Does use Trick Room. He has decided that that is the way to go.
I think it's a clever adjustment here. I mean, if he's going to allow his opponents to Thunder Wave all of his Pokemon anyway, at least he's getting some benefit now by using it as a form of speed control in his direction.
So Tyranitar could come in here. Tyranitar's really good here against these two Pokemon. Yeah, and then Psyshock and Rock Slide into Thunderous covers everything because or Ice Beam and Rock Slide. So I like I like the trick from
Paralyzed now is likely to be the fastest Pokemon on the field, so he's getting a benefit in addition to potentially not being able to act. It also lets Tyranitar move before Thunderous if it's doing anything other than a status move,
Right.
which makes it slightly easier for it to deal with these Pokemon. Tyranitar, one of the best Pokemon against both Thunderous and Cresselia, which is part of why it's one of the best Pokemon in the game. So assuming he is planning to set up Tyranitar here, this is a pretty good situation.
Yeah, definitely a good situation there. And
The
of
thing
course
is,
that Rotom
Ryosuke could reverse the Trick Room here if he wants.
both the Will-O-Wisp and the Light Screen.
Which I like. So he's probably Ryosuke is almost certainly left Heatran on the bench, which I agree with. Although he has to be careful with Cresselia now because Cresselia is very bulky and hard to get rid of, as I
be
mentioned.
able to make sure that that Tyranitar is well protected against any attacks
Okay.
that might come out.
That should
You
be
see the
Conkeldurr.
Cresselia fresh out on the field, doesn't want to stick around, is going to switch back out in favor of
Heatran, no
Heatran.
Conkeldurr?
We've already seen with the
Wait, Tyranitar beats all these Pokemon except for Landorus.
eruption earlier. And Thunderwave, Ryosuke is fine with giving Aaron some of this speed advantage during Trick Room because the paralysis chance is worth it. And yes, it is. That's Cresselia and Rotom are both unable to move.
Cresselia might
And
attack.
you can see the look on
Oh.
Aaron's face right there.
So he's gotten every single paralysis so far.
Not great.
I'm sure he's frustrated, but I'd be frustrated about the Cresselia too. The Rotom paralysis may have helped him. I imagine with that Heatran switch, Ryusuke was trying to catch him using Will-O-Wisps to activate Heatran's Flash Fire.
And now
which
come the
blocks
swaggers,
damage from
everybody.
Fire-type attacks and increases the Fire-type damage of Heatran. Aaron's been using Will-O-Wisp immediately on Cresselia and physical attacks.
I think what you could do here if you're Aaron is switch your Rotom into Tyranitar, eat the Swagger, and then start praying.
Swagger's also
Although
great.
honestly,
I'm
I
sure
don't know.
he's
That's not a
picked up
great
on
strategy.
this, so he's trying
The
to
thing
make an
is, this
adjustment
is what I was talking about. Like he can't get rid of this Thunderous quickly, especially when he can't attack.
and get the free damage boost, but not this time.
Interestingly enough, with the Heatran coming out, we now know that Conkeldurr is not out on the field for Ryosuke. That Cresselia taking its place, and of course the Landorus Therian, which, if Aaron did bring that Tyranitar, it's going to make life much easier for him.
Hydrum's chances of hitting are like
It's
zero here.
Tyranitar's
Yep.
game to win this time, but Thunderous is going to prefer to try to take control its way instead.
Yep, the Swagger comes out
God.
onto that Rotom, is going to increase its attack and give it that confusion again and the paralysis status already. Going to see if Rotom and Cresselia are a little bit luckier this time around. Cresselia does get its Ice Beam off. Good for Cresselia. Better than we can say for Rotom this couple games. And the confusion
Hydro
coming
Pump connecting
out
here
for
would
Rotom,
maybe be
and
very
the
good.
Paralysis, will it be able to get its off? Yes! Hydro Pump does go through the
I'm
confusion and the
shocked.
paralysis, and it
I'm
hits
shocked by
onto
that.
that Heatran. All of the odds stacked against Rotom. It finally makes all 5 of those Will-O-Wisps.
I hope it erupts. I hope it
It
erupts.
gets the Hydro Pump.
That was very. I mean, Aaron's been getting unlucky, but that Hydro Pump was huge. If Ryosuke is able to launch this eruption, yeah. I mean, that's almost a KO on a Pokemon for Aaron.
Onto that Heatran, uses Eruption with the Fire Gem, as we've already mentioned.
So I think what I want to see this turn from Aaron is rest with Cresselia, get rid of that paralysis, and switch to Tyranitar, and then try to Rock Slide and win the game.
Speed-based, about 1 HP left on that Heatran.
Because Ryosuke doesn't have a good way through Cresselia. He doesn't have a fast way through Cresselia outside of Landorus now.
Eruption.
So yeah, I mean, it survives with 1 HP, which is pretty clutch, but this was the saddest eruption ever. Oh!
I think Aaron's Pokemon got healed off of that.
It crit Cresselia. Oh my god.
Hit onto the Cresselia.
That 2 damage was pretty critical there. It really could change the course of this. Okay. Big turn, though, there for Aaron. You got to feel good.
Ryosuke also has 3 special attackers, so if Rotom was able to get a light screen off, that would be good. I can't believe he hit that Hydro Pump. Yeah, so, I mean, if you're Aaron, this feels very winnable, assuming you have Tyranitar in the back.
It's having really, really rough bounces all series. So it's nice that finally it defies the odds. It does something useful. And we still haven't seen Tyranitar. I feel reasonably safe assuming that Aaron must have picked Tyranitar in this matchup. And Heatran's one of those Pokemon that's handy to remove. Landorus is the big one, obviously, but Heatran's still important to get rid of just because
Aaron doesn't switch.
At least before, it wasn't going to do great.
Interestingly enough, if he went into Tyranitar, it'd be so good. Goes back into Cresselia.
That last hit point is
okay,
going
Swaggers
to switch out.
or Paralysis.
Cresselia, unfortunately, you got your chance to attack last turn. Rotom also confused and still paralyzed. And is it going to be able to?
Wow.
Yes! Rotom attacking 2 turns in a row gets the light screen off against the double special attacking duo of Thundurus and Cresselia now. And the Thunderbolt coming out from that Thundurus.
Okay, so Aaron's not doing bad. I mean, he needs to attack, but yeah, I just wish he went into
Not going to be able to
Tyranitar.
rely on the percentages now. Is going to deal damage to Rotom, but only 40 HP because it was finally able to get off that light screen.
Trigger up?
We saw how big this light screen was in game 1, so I think this is a really, really
I like that light screen there because Aaron's seen that 3 of Ryosuke's Pokemon are special attackers, and the last one is Landorus, so I really like the light screen there.
Moment in game 3 here. It was important that Aaron was able to get light screen up before Rotom fainted, which he wasn't able to do in game 2, especially because there's 2 Pokemon left, Cresselia and Thundurus, who do special attacks on Ryosuke's side. Both of them are mostly support Pokemon who don't do a whole lot of damage to begin with. So with light screen, they're doing almost nothing. The easy reaction to that is, oh, I've got a physical Pokemon in the back. I've got Landorus. But he really doesn't want to risk that Landorus, who he needs to help deal with Tyranitar, assuming it's around. Because both Cresselia and Rotom Washing Machine could easily knock it out. So it's a really precarious position for Yusuke. He's got to decide between 2 bad situations, either risking his Landorus.
Yeah, Aaron's not doing bad here at all.
For closing the game out, or not being able to really accomplish much in the next few turns.
And the Swagger
he hasn't missed a Swagger yet, by the way. It's 90% accurate. I mean, he hasn't used that many.
Ryosuke is going to go for the Swagger onto that Cresselia, raising the attack, adding the confusion. Still going to play the odds there. As you mentioned with that light screen, not that much else that Thundurus is going to be able to do about that. As we do see, the Cresselia is going to try and make an attack. Is it going to be able to? Confusion.
Oh,
yes,
wow.
It gets through. The Ice Beam gets through, is going to target that Thundurus and deal some damage.
I'm actually surprised there hasn't been a freeze, by the way. Like, there's been so much Ice Beam. So many
Aaron's
Ice Beams, it feels
Pokemon
like.
really putting forth the effort for this last game of this best of 3. The confusion.
No.
Rotom gets the Will-O-Wisp, and it is! Rotom finally gets the Will-O-Wisp to connect.
Aaron chilling.
Cresselia is going to deal damage over time there. The Psychic coming
That's a big
out,
burn.
hoping to catch maybe a Conkeldurr on the switch-in, or also it's about the best it can do against Rotom.
That's a bad drop. That's a really bad drop.
Defense drop onto Rotom. A really good turn there for Aaron.
That was a very good turn.
I'm just proud that everyone can finally see that Will-O-Wisp is actually a move that inflicts burn. It really isn't just a message, it doesn't just give you the message.
That's funny. I mean, he's not in bad shape here. He probably has to think about speed control. I really wish Tyranitar had come in earlier, but I think actually from the report he might not have it. I have a feel. I actually like based on the report. Now that I think about it, and based on how he hasn't brought it in, I think he might. I think he leaves it for Landorus.
One of the more bizarre things I've seen with it missing that many times in a row, but it hit when it needed to here.
Well,
and the Trick Room does fade. The Twisted Dimensions do return to normal, which means that the paralysis,
he's so close.
Part of the paralysis there is going to be back in Ryosuke's favor, but we will have to see if Cresselia might reset it, which would give it a huge advantage against these Pokemon, especially if we assume he has Conkeldurr in the back, which would be great against that Landorus coming up.
It also has the option of using Rest to try to get rid of that Swagger and that Paralysis, which has been plaguing him all series, although this game things have been going a little bit better for him. Only 3 Pokemon left on Ryosuke's side, and unlike Aaron...
I think actually this 4 Heatran didn't die, as I recall, but yeah.
It doesn't have the ability to rest. So that
the special defense drop is so big here, or like Aaron really wants to switch his Rotom out, but
constant
I don't
usage
know.
for the remainder of the game.
I think you
have
should
to
Rotom
wonder
out here.
with the light screen up with both the Thundurus and the Cresselia if there might be some opportunities for free switch-ins here for Aaron.
It has Taunt? It has Taunt?
Looks like not, as Thundurus is going to go for the taunt onto Cresselia.
It had Taunt the whole time?
Just going to make sure that Trick Room does not get reset. Really important move there for Ryosuke.
Special defense drop is
Psychic
really
does
big.
come out, is trying to get rid of that Rotom. Still going to deal good damage there. about 40 HP there, but it will be able to heal off with the Citrus Berry, about the exact same amount of damage dealt. As we see that
Still
Rotom
confused.
is going to try once more to get another attack off. Confused, paralyzed, gets the Hydro Pump off,
Oh,
and it connects!
wow.
The
I'm
Hydro Pump
shocked.
connecting with the Thundurus Incarnate. Rotom really pulling
Oh,
through
he's
when
so
he needs to.
close!
Cresselia is unable to use the Trick Room, though, thanks to that taunt.
Fortunately, the taunt also stopped.
I mean, keep in mind, this is only Aaron's lead, so we can totally win this, right? You got the burn on Cresselia. He just at 1 HP. All you need is to get rid of the Thundurus, I think, and you can win this
Self
game.
and confusion. So, I mean, at least there's a bright side, right? But
Right.
a good taunt by Ryosuke there. He probably suspects Kinkeldor just like you do and wants to prevent that Trick Room from being put up. Even if it's something like Tyranitar, you know, a slower Pokemon than Landorus, so it's important for him to control speed there. So, a good play there. He does have... He's been using mostly just Swagger there, but there's a good decision there. He is reading what Aaron's doing. It just hasn't been a real exciting game from his end so far, just because it has been his best play just to use Swagger. And
Right.
that's what happens when you're using a bunch of special supportive Pokemon like Aaron is.
Yeah, with bringing 3 special attackers to this game, as soon as Rotom gets that light screen up, it's a replay of...
Oh, I remember. I know what happens. I remember watching this live and calling it. I'll tell you what I called.
Not much that
It's
they
not
can
this
do
turn.
to
I think
break
it's
through,
the next
especially
turn.
as you mentioned, both Thundurus and Cresselia are more primarily support Pokemon.
Yeah, Light Screen's been clutch in this series. It's one of the most underutilized moves in VGC, I think. Both it and Reflect are actually really good, but you've got to use a little more defensive team and kind of know how to avoid taking really large
So Aaron's almost out of time here, and he hasn't chosen to move for Cresselia yet. So yeah, this might influence his
hits.
play.
And he does a great
I
job
have a
with that
feeling
with
it
his
doesn't
team.
matter.
We've seen Rotom take a bunch of hits, Cresselia take a bunch of hits. Like, they're just slowly getting worn down, and Light Screen every
okay.
time reducing that damage.
So he's gonna sacrifice Rotom here, I think.
Now that it, his
Land.
Cresselia
Okay, so that confirms it. He has Landorus in the back.
taunted and it is confused. Is going to switch out, going to reset the confusion. And
So Aaron is predicting a Psychic and a Thunderbolt into Rotom to take it out this turn.
there. Landorus comes out for Aaron, going to be able to intimidate both these special attacking Pokemon and be some great offensive pressure.
He also now knows, maybe he brings Landorus in now because he knows that Thundurus is Taunt, Swagger, Thunder Wave, and Thunderbolt, so it cannot touch Landorus.
These Pokemon though as well. We see that the Thunderbolt does come out from the Thundurus.
He doesn't want to give up his
onto
Focus Sash. That's why he
that
switched
Rotom.
that slot out.
Rotom's been a trooper this entire time. Is going to be
And that's why the special defense drop is so crucial, is because without that he would have lived. Rotom would still be alive. And granted, it probably wouldn't attack, but it changes
very
things a
low.
lot.
The Psychic finally is going to be able to knock out that Rotom that has been such a thorn.
But this
in-
still isn't bad. Like, with Landorus in the back, we now know that, like, Aaron's Landorus and Cresselia beat everything on Ryosuke's side except for the Thundurus and the Cresselia. But actually, yeah, I mean, if Aaron gets an Intimidate, like, let's say he KO'd Thundurus already and then he can KO Heatran, he could Intimidate the Landorus, rest off the Thunder Wave, and then just win.
Ryosuke's
So he's
side
not in
this
bad
entire
shape.
Game. But now that Rotom is out, another free switch in for Aaron, and neither of these Pokemon that are going to switch in, well, unless he switches Cresselia in, are confused or paralyzed.
That's one thing that'll help Cresselia too. The switching out does clear that Swagger, so that's another way to increase
So
the
I was
odds
in the
of him actually
crowd
being able to move.
watching this live.
He's been in advantageous positions. for a lot
Cresselia
of
was
this
switching
game,
here.
but
I
he
remember
hasn't
this. I remember where I was. I remember I was with Marcus.
necessarily been able to capitalize on that because, you know, Swagger.
And I saw Cresselia Landorus versus Cresselia Thundurus, and I said, Marcus, he's going to Swagger the Landorus.
made it a little more disadvantageous. So at least he's making Ryosuke spend a turn to reapply that Swagger if he wants to keep the odds being reduced, and that's going to help Landorus out here, try to get some damage down.
Landorus an interesting choice for this match also.
So I think if you're Aaron here, you expect Taunt into Cresselia or Swagger into Cresselia and Ice Beam into Landorus, which I think is the reasonable play.
How Aaron might be able
So
to
you go for
adapt
probably
to
Rock Slide and
paralysis.
Ice Beam
Of course,
or
Landorus is ground type.
Rock Slide and
Can
Rest
use the paralysis.
or Rock Slide
It
and Trick
does,
Room.
though. It also makes it struggling with Cresselia, which is another good read by Ryosuke. Hadn't been bringing Cresselia for most of his series, and he does this time, which gives him a much better answer to that Landorus.
Probably
We've
Rock Slide and
already
Trick
seen
Room
that
because you have
Landorus
Conkeldurr as your
will
last
be able
Pokemon,
to
and that can
take
win
at
against the
least
Pokemon
one
in the
shot
back
from Cresselia,
because of the burn
which could
on
be
Cresselia.
very important as we get to these final moves.
You still have Light Screen up, though, which is really important here.
Thundurus, Cresselia on the top, Landorus and Cresselia on the bottom.
Yeah, I guess we've got the double Genie Cresselia, right?
I think one
Right.
thing you could do here is protect Landorus and Ice Beam Thundurus. But then if you get Swaggered and hurt yourself, then you're actually in trouble.
very metagame moment here.
Yeah, it's very fitting that we would see all three of these Pokemon on the screen in the world's top 4 here. I feel like I've been seeing them all season. And Swagger comes out from Thundurus, is going to swagger that Landorus. Really going to toss the dice, really playing with fire here.
That's an extremely risky move, but it's like Ryosuke says, I'm betting the game on a less than 50% chance in my favor. If Aaron gets a rock slide off here, he probably just wins. Thunderous will go down, Cresselia takes too much damage, and Conkeldurr and Cresselia win. If he gets it right, though, Aaron breaks his Focus Sash with his Confusion, and then Ryosuke can Ice Beam.
The attack increase on Landorus, but the Confusion, again, we mentioned if it manages to hit itself in Confusion, plus the Ice Beam from Cresselia, this could be a huge moment for Ryosuke. Landorus is confused. Is it going to be able to get the attack off? No! It hits itself in its Confusion, and it deals
That's
61
so much damage
to itself, and also breaks its Focus Sash, as Cresselia's Ice Beam is going to be able to get the knockout onto Landorus. Really unfortunate break
Even
for
with Light
Aaron
Screen,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, daring move to swagger a physical attacker there. The odds are in the favor of that not working out, but it does work out for him this time.
Aaron was going for Trick Room.
And the paralysis from Cresselia, too. Just nothing going Aaron's way this turn.
Yeah, Ryosuke seems to be living right here. He's taking a lot of chances, but they all seem to be going his way once again.
Yeah, definitely rolling the dice, but...
I know it's crazy, but it's actually not over. Although with Light Screen going down, it gets hard because, like I mentioned, Aaron's Cresselia 1v1s Ryosuke's Cresselia because it has Arrest and Ryosuke is burned. And Heatran's at 1 HP and Cresselia beats Landorus. So this still is not over.
Think about it.
But he's running out of time. That's the real thing.
Move.
Yeah, I mean, he knew he needed to break that Focus Sash, just like you mentioned, and Swagger was a strange but effective way to do that.
And Conkeldurr does make an appearance here, although we've already seen that Light Screen just wearing off, meaning that Conkeldurr is going to be much more vulnerable to Cresselia.
Yeah, actually with
This
Tonic
could
it's
be
harder,
a
and
bad
Swagger gets
position
harder.
for Aaron.
Yeah, with Taunt maybe you can't do it.
He's got to find a way to get that Trick Room up, but I imagine Thunderous isn't going to be any more open to that idea of it.
I think in this situation, you Ice Beam Thunderous and you Ice Punch the Cresselia, and you hope to God it kills Cresselia. Because you should live a Psychic. You should live one Psychic.
The damage rolls that Aaron can pull off here, as we saw Conkeldurr doing a lot of damage to Cresselia earlier in the game. Will it be able to get that KO on?
It might kill. Life Orb, Iron Fist, Ice.
It's gonna have to
that's
find
Cresselia. There's no way.
It's gonna have to last a few turns to manage to do that. Burn will help it, but it's still got that Citrus Berry to consume.
And the taunt
no protects. I
does come
agree.
out from Thunderous, going to make sure that Aaron's Cresselia
He's gonna
is
Ice Punch.
unable to use that Trick Room. Much more reliable way of preventing that than the Swagger Thunder Wave combo there. Psychic does come out on Conkeldurr.
How much does it do?
Is going to deal good damage there, but only
Ice Punch should be into
enough to get it down to
Cresselia.
67 HP.
Okay, if
Not
this
enough
kills,
to
he can
KO.
win. If this
The
kills, he
Ice
wins,
Punch
probably.
comes out. Is Conkeldurr going to be able to deal enough damage? No.
It's just not.
No, Cresselia does go down to the red, but is going to be able to recover off that damage with the Citrus Berry.
If he Ice Beams here, though...
The Burn's going to deal going to be able to deal some
Okay.
damage there, but maybe not enough. Ice Beam does come out, is going to get the hit onto Thunderous, and will get the KO.
Okay, this is not over. I mean...
Ryosuke loses the next Mon.
Where do you end up with the 2-2 game here? I was a little surprised to see Conkeldurr choose to attack that turn. I thought it might use Detect and choose to get another turn of burn damage.
If the commentators are right and I'm wrong, then this is actually way more interesting because Ice Punch into Mach Punch KOs Landorus, whereas Ice Punch into Burn into Mach Punch might KO Cresselia. Like, I don't know. This isn't over, but I think Heatran is still alive.
We've got a really close one here that could go either way.
With Heatran alive,
hanging
this is
out
very
there,
different.
and Cresselia in the same sort of situation. Both low on health, and
That
both
should be
kind of
Landorus?
they've got limited time in front of them. Conkeldurr has to worry about his Life Orb doing damage to him, and Cresselia's got that burn.
Yep.
I think you detect, protect Conkeldurr, and Ice Punch into Ice Beam into Cresselia this turn.
And of course, since Ryosuke also has that Heatran, I
Yeah,
believe, in the back.
it's still at a 10%, I think.
Yeah, about 1% probably.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is winnable. Like, it's gonna be difficult, of course, but like Ice Beam into, like, Ryosuke's gonna U-turn into Cresselia this turn, which makes it really hard. He's gonna U-turn in Psychic. But if you Ice Beam into, but yeah, this isn't over.
The saddest eruption.
If you protect Ice Beam into Cresselia here,
the littlest eruption. So Conkeldurr and Cresselia up against.
Then maybe Cresselia's in Mach Punch
Cresselia.
range.
Again, a very tight.
I mean, Heatran's definitely in Mach Punch range, and then
now being unable to use that Trick Room also.
You might need a double protect or something, but I mean, it seems possible, right? Am I crazy?
Landorus is going to be tough to deal with here. Like Aaron's Landorus, it does have that Focus Sash.
Yeah,
I don't think it happen.
He would have to dodge a Heat Wave.
And U-turn is going to do a whole bunch of damage to Cresselia if he chooses to go that route.
I think also Ryosuke could probably win on timer if he wants.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a very close match here. Aaron, as you can see, is taking all of the time he has allotted to make sure that he doesn't make the wrong decision here. In these last couple of turns, every second.
Aaron's probably considering mock punching into Landorus to break the focus sash, but I don't think you can afford
Curious
that.
move here. There's a great chance on the other side that Kinkelder won't be targeted, so if that's the case, he needs to attack, but if Kinkelder is targeted, you know, he'd lose the game by attacking.
Yep.
Yeah, and Kinkelder does go for the protect, and the U-turn does come out from Landorus. Is going to hit that Cresselia and deal good damage there. Down all the way to the nice orange 45, as Landorus is going to switch back to that weakest Heatran. As we see Heatran about to come back out.
If Taunt were to wear off this turn and not next turn, he could rest and win.
They all count for the same at this point, though.
Yeah. As you mentioned, though, there is a good chance that Kinkelder was not going to be attacked, but it is. So good protect there. And the paralysis just going to be...
And that seals it. There's no way he can win after that. If he gets the Ice Beam onto Cresselia there, it won't KO, but it will put it in Mach Punch range, and it will put it in another turn of burn range.
There for Ryosuke as Cresselia
it might KO. I mean, with a crit, he could KO.
Unable to even get the KO onto that Heatran.
Another precarious turn for
poor Aaron.
Aaron because of that.
Oh, God.
There's a good chance
Taunt is still up. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. Like, if you Ice Beam there and then Cresselia's in Mach Punch range, you can Mach Punch Cresselia, hope you dodge a Heat Wave with both your Pokemon. I mean, it's a 1% chance, but it's a chance, you know? And plus you have a 1 in 16 chance this generation to crit. So, because if you crit there, the game becomes more interesting, in my opinion. Although you probably still, I don't know, you probably still lose. I don't know. It seems like he's so close.
Choosing rest there, which would have given him a much better shot here, but now, I mean, he's threatening.
He needs a double protect
punch, but he probably doesn't want to
and an Ice Beam on Cresselia.
The psychic move he would take in return for that, and Heatran probably doesn't want to let him do that anyway, and has the option of protecting or switching out to full health Landorus here. So again, another turn where Aaron has to figure out exactly what's going to happen just to get a decent result here, not even necessarily a good one.
Yeah, and as we saw from Aaron trying to do it, Cresselia is still afflicted by that taunt and unable to use rest, which would be very, very good for him.
Double prediction from Conkeldurr. Okay, good.
That taunt
doesn't get it. Oh, gets it.
Possibly the best.
Heat Wave missing means that Aaron can win this.
Ryosuke could have done. Conkeldurr is going to protect itself again, and is going to protect itself from that Psychic, as the Heat Wave coming out from Ryosuke's Heatran at 1 HP is going to hit the Cresselia. And Heat Wave not afflicted by HP, and it is going to be enough to get the KO, and Cresselia is going to go down, leaving Conkeldurr, a very, very sad Conkeldurr, up against this Heatran and this Cresselia.
Yeah, not too much Aaron can do from here. He needed the Heat Wave miss there to at least put him into the game, but not this time. Time was running low, too. Would have been an issue there, too. Even if he'd managed to get a knockout there, full health Landorus was a bit of a problem.
The triple.
Aaron
he gets the triple.
Going to go for another protect. Conkeldurr is going to be safe for one more turn. Going to get the burn damage off on.
He's so close. Does someone subscribe? Thank you for subbing.
Had his stats a little bit. Heatran's Earth Power, though.
He's so close. That's what sucks here is like,
as we see Cresselia
even with everything that happened, he almost won, right? Well, let's finish.
But unfortunately, thanks to the Landorus in the back plus the Heatran, looks like Ryosuke is going to be able to take the third game and move back into the finals.
This is a hard one.
Yeah, congratulations to him, assuming that's what happens. And a great job by him, too. Both series we've watched him play, he lost the first game, was able to make better adjustments and move on. And I think that's a mark of a really great player. His strategy was strong. You know, he game in every round. His opponents probably knew his team and hurt him a little bit first, but he figured their team out just as fast. And then once they were on an even playing field, he's the one who managed to figure it out.
And Heatran not going to let Conkeldurr get the free KO with Mach Punch there. Goes for the Protect. Mach Punch into the Protect there as the Earthquake comes out from
Shakes his hand,
Landorus.
smiles. Oh, good sport.
KO that Conkeldurr. And Ryosuke Kosuge takes the game 3 and moves on to the finals of the two.
I mean, Ryosuke did what he did. Like, he played well. He realized that the odds were in his favor. He realized that Aaron didn't have a quick answer through Thunderous. He made risky plays and they paid off. They could have not paid off, but they did. But yeah, it's tough. It's super tough.
2013 Pokemon World Video Game Championships. After a grueling and intense
Aaron's there's no way he felt like smiling after that, but he does anyway. What a good sport.
Series. 2 intense 3-game series.
Yeah, he's against 2.
We're not gonna watch the interview. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, like we can go see what Aaron says about the finals. Here. He says, yeah. He goes up 1-0. He outplays his opponent. Misses Willows and Conkeldurr right away. This is my first major error in playing the set. In practice, my team, I've become too accustomed to using Will-O-Wisp whenever applicable because I love the residual damage. Yeah. Psyshock and Hydro Pump, which would have been KO on both Landorus and Conkeldurr, and just 50% to a slower turn without Protect. Oops. It says he just keeps using Will-O-Wisp for whatever reason. Yeah, he gets tilted. He brings his mood down. $1,500 on the line with free trip to Invitational next Worlds. Yeah, I mean, it's so hard. Like, he didn't play perfectly, sure, but, like, it's so hard. It's so hard to play well in that situation. Yeah, I didn't expect it to swagger the Landorus, but target the Cresselia instead. I figured even if he got the swagger off and I hit myself in confusion, Cresselia would also need to hit herself for me to lose the battle. That's how things played out, which is unfortunate. Yeah. So, yeah. He's such a good sport. So, I don't know. Like, I think this game in particular is a lesson as to why you have to have variance control on your teams, right? Having Pokemon and having moves that deal with... I mean, Thundurus, thankfully, is no longer the menace that it was. But, you know, like a Pokemon like Thundurus, in my opinion, really encapsulates what is dangerous about Pokemon and a skill that a lot of people overlook, which is having ways to deal with Pokemon and moves that are luck, centric. So having high accuracy moves on your team is one way to mitigate luck. Having answers to Pokemon like in this format, Venusaur, for example, which adds luck by adding Sleep Powder variants into the game. So that was a weakness of Aaron's team, is that it didn't have a quick way to remove Thundurus or stop it from Thunderwave swaggering everything, and Ryosuke saw that, took advantage of it, and moves on to the finals. I don't think you can fault Aaron for how he played. I think he played very well. I think there are many worlds in which we have Aaron in the finals and many worlds in which we have Aaron Zheng as the world champion in 2013. But that's Pokemon, and that's what happened. So just to close out this video, because we are 2 hours in somehow, we can take a look at the teams. Yep, I love Arash's team. It's a really cool team. Ryosuke, as we saw, Aaron, as we saw, Ben Gold. Like, one way to deal with variance is with Lightning Rod Pokemon. We actually see 2 in top 8. Ben Gold with Rhydon and Sajin Park with Marowak. Yeah, I mean, these teams are cool. There's some cool Pokemon. Metagross, that was good. Hitmontop, lots of standard Pokemon. Got a cool Latias, Thundurus Therian form. Billa has a cool team. Rothben has a cool team. 2 Steel types. Randy used the original Excadrill Togekiss user, the only Excadrill Togekiss user as far as I'm aware, or as far as I'm concerned. Randy was using Excadrill Togekiss before all you new Zoomers were using it. Okay, Gavin, the U.S. National Champion this year, had Volcarona and Landorus I. Cool, okay. Now here's where things get interesting. We have, okay, Suicune, whatever. Okay, who do we expect to see next? Hang on, wait, I gotta zoom in more. You know what Torkoal's ability was in Generation 5? It wasn't Drought. I think it was White Smoke, but I don't know. Or maybe Flash Fire. I genuinely don't know. Ray used Torkoal, and I used Registeel, Hippowdon, Gliscor, Magmar, Latios, and Rotom-Wash. Now, you might think these two are standard. The total amount of EVs in attack and special attack across the entire team were 12. Thank you for watching the video. Let me know which match you want to see next. Next time, hopefully, we don't have to talk about 2013 ever again, at least for me. And that's it. See you next time. Peace.